Saturday, October 1st, 2022. I'm Steven Sersky, and today I have another guest with me, joining me on my podcast here, Octavio Araujo. I hope I pronounced that right. He's another friend here in Beijing. He's leaving China after being here for 13 years, and before he leaves next week, I thought it'd be a good idea to get some of his insights as to what he's learned, what his initial inspiration was for coming to China so many years ago, and how things developed over the time. He is also a published author as well. He's published his own ESL book, so we get into a little bit of that as well. And also from Mexican descent, we get into a little bit of conversations about his own family background and what it was like growing up in the United States. All right, this is episode number 34 of my podcast with Octavio Araujo. Do we have enough?
I think so.
I mean, we finished one already.
Yes.
Is that the German one?
Yeah, the Riesling? Yeah.
I have no idea.
I think this is...
Or you didn't get the cork out. That's what she said. So
yeah, this one's easier. But
I mean, I don't think they're going to leave here empty, are they?
guess he went dry, huh?
Pretty much. I think the last time I had a drink on air was with Owen Johnston.
Oh, right. He went back to Slovakia?
Don't know. He told me he's like not that country. He hates that country, Slovakia. He does not like Slovakia because apparently there's some sort of rivalry with them, and I guess his team from.
I don't get it.
Because you're American. It's very different in terms of if it was a hockey fight or a football fight. Not even basketball. You don't give a shit about basketball, do you?
Not really.
Yeah, no one does. Only Chinese people. Young Chinese men care about basketball, and
I think there's a reason why I don't like basketball anymore.
Is that the why? Is it? It's like poisoned it.
Yeah. They always talk about LeBron James. When I first got here 13 years ago, it was always about Tracy McGrady and Yao Ming.
Oh yeah,
and I was like, the reason why you even watch basketball because of Yao Ming. Before that, you guys didn't care about basketball.
Yeah.
And 13 years later, Yao Ming has put so much effort and resources in trying to make a better national team. You guys are still horrible.
What about Stephen Marbury? He's I met him one time.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I have a picture with him.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. At Plan B, I was walking home from Dawanglu, and after work one day, and I walked by Plan B, and there's a crowd of teenage Chinese boys looking at Plan B. I'm going, what are you guys doing? I look. There's a black guy, bald black guy. I'm like, bald black guy. China, okay, right? Stephen Marbury. Stefan Marbury. I know the guy. I know the face. I know the name. I'm like, holy fuck, he's famous. Hey, so I look at the Chinese guys, and they're all kind of like taking pictures. I'm like, why don't you go say hi? I'm like, hey, Stefan, how's it going, Mr. Marbury? Like, can I get a picture? He's like, yeah, sure. Blah. Takes a picture, and we're talking to him, and he's like, I remember asking him, like, so. China or America? Like, which one's home? He's like, China. Like, but he just got his permanent residency at that point.
Really?
Yeah. No, he's one of these guys who's like, it's China or where else would he go, sort of thing. He's almost like me, except he has far more clout in the country than I do.
He's got real guanxi.
He has real guanxi and skills, like the skills that the country actually values, rather than
basketball skills.
Yeah, basketball and like mine just English teaching, English language, blah 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 blah. But yeah, the one time I remember shaking his hand. He had such soft and warm hands. I was shocked because I'm like, you're a basketball player. I thought they'd be like calloused and like dry, but I was just like, those are wonderful hands. Wow, sir. I didn't say that to him because I didn't want to
make them feel uncomfortable that you might be
or like anybody else uncomfortable. Because he was with a few other people. There was this sort of big white guy with white hair who I assume is some sort of part of his entourage or something like that, right? But that was I think I sent a picture to the colleagues and stuff like that, but I'm not sure.
Well, what I remember when I first got to Qinhuangdao teaching at Omei Shuiyan, I taught the boys basketball terminology. Went outside on the court, shot some balls, but I started like, this is a layup, this is a hook, and this is dribble, and the whole thing.
Yeah.
What I noticed about the Chinese boys is that they don't play as a team. It's 10 guys playing against each other.
What?
And that's always been the problem.
In China?
They don't know how to work as a team.
But they're so cohesive.
That's what we think. We think that they're
Well,
a collective body of people, but they're really individuals.
so maybe basketball is their individualistic outlet,
Maybe.
like punk rock was for a lot of youth back in the day.
Possibly. But that's why they're horrible at basketball. They get their asses kicked in national tournaments. They have not improved in 13 years, and you think they would have.
Yeah.
But they haven't.
But they've improved it. Like they won the gold medals in
Yeah.
the Winter Olympics this year. That's different.
Well, it was a lot of anyways.
And because Eileen Gu switched.
Oh, the American?
Yeah, who won the 2 gold medals that put China above the United States in terms of gold medal count, or medal count total. And just today I read that China is hiring a South Korean born but dual Chinese passport sort of thing. He's going to join the ice skating. Not ballet stuff, the other stuff. Speed skating and stuff like that, right? And so he had to wait until after this year's Olympics. He applied this year so that in 3 years he can represent China in the next Olympics in Italy or whatever it is.
Well, what does it say about the country? Anyways, not to go down that rabbit hole, but
they have the money. We're here.
Fair enough.
I mean, we can look at them and go, "Oh, you bad people." And how many English teachers do you know went, "Oh, money? You mean stable income? You mean you're going to pay me monies and I can transfer it into US dollars and send it overseas?" I mean, aren't we all in the same game? Anyway, episode 34, Octavio, I don't know how to pronounce your last name. Thanks for coming in today. We're live and loud at the studio apartment. So we've known each other for a couple of years already.
3.
3. So did you start before the pandemic?
Yes.
Epidemic? Which one is it? The endemic. The endemic. Never ending.
I started with the company in July 2019.
Right. And then
I was coming from Nanjing.
Okay, so what were you doing before that then?
ESL, but like I said, I first started in Qinhuangdao 13 years ago. Was there for 2 years.
You're like one of these China lifers.
I have been, yes.
Right.
And
until now, which I have to say that you're leaving.
We'll get to that. Everything's flipped, but when I first got to China, it was just all new to me. The reason why I came to China, I was at a bar one time in Los Angeles right before the market crash. And
which one?
Which bar or which market crash?
Both. Which bar and which market crash?
2008, 2009 market crash.
Oh, yeah, that one.
In downtown LA, where I bought my house and went to the local bar. It's called the Verdugo. And I was talking to this waitress or the bartender. She goes, I said, you know what? I've just had enough. But I didn't want to travel the world as a steel pipe inspector because I didn't want to live in compounds. Because I had already done my due diligence about that.
Okay.
Yeah, people say you'd be making a lot of money. It's like, yeah, but I don't want to be living in a compound. I want to be with the locals, and I want to learn the local languages.
Yeah. Okay.
And then
you went the authentic route.
Yeah, you could say that. So the reason why I became an ESL teacher was just simply to travel the world with no responsibilities and it just being mobile.
ESL teachers, no responsibility.
Well, what I learned is when you start buying assets, you have to look at them every day. Yeah. And it gives you less freedom or autonomy just to be mobile. And that's what I was really looking at the time in 2008, 2009.
But you had a house at that point.
Yes, I did.
So did you buy the house with the idea that you would use it as a passive income stream? Because I remember 2008, 2009, 2010 is when I sort of took off from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a choice. I was like, I have $10,000 in the bank. I could use as down payment for a house. And then, slowly make myself into the passive income stream. Who knows when it would happen that I could take off and use the house as sort of a payment, a monthly payment. But there was also the other ones like, or you could just leave right now and go teach English, which is what I did. I went to go teach English in South Korea.
South Korea.
Yeah, that's where I got my start. So was that idea there when you bought the house, or was it you were setting down roots? You thought you were going to go that way, and then it just didn't happen.
Well, when the market crashed, I was a Los Angeles City Steel inspector, and I talked to the building officials, and I said we lost more than half the projects, and my income went to half. How much
were you making?
That year before the market crash. I was on my way to make $100,000 for the first time in my entire life, And then market crash. I was like, oh my God, I
50,000.
barely made 44 the following year. But I had bought the house because I beat the market. Um, when you're doing price discovery with real estate, it's no different than looking for price discovery in stocks. That's why you have to pick one. And that's how you and Danny met. He's commodities, your stocks, I'm real estate.
Yeah.
It's not easy, man. You gotta put in the effort to like where's a diamond in the rough. But I just didn't want to deal with the what we're looking for. The stress of like, how am I going to pay the mortgage? How am I going to pay the mortgage?
But if you had a rental agreement, right? Well, like you had tenants, would that have covered it or not?
No, this is where short-sightedness comes in as a young man. I didn't think about that because 3 years later, that property I bought tripled in value. Yeah, was I thinking? And I sold the house to my best friend. He's also my tax guy, and he turned
He's
around.
laughing.
Yeah, he turned around and sold it. And he got himself a big, nice mansion in front of Cal State, LA.
And now you're sitting here in a
Yeah, I know.
Beijing, China, and what kind of apartment is this? Well, not that bad.
It's all right.
Cheers, dude. Appreciate it for you coming in here.
But
Do you have regrets about that though, like making that sale? Because there, I mean, same thing happens with stocks where it's like you hold on to something for so long, but that when people talk about capitulation in the stock market and like when you're supposed to buy, it's when like people like you and me go, I can't do this, I have to sell, and like when you're ready to sell, and not like paper sell, like when you're on the sell button. That's when like all the big guys and the big money is going, we'll go take that, we'll buy some of this, we'll buy some of that. I mean, they're always buying and selling, but the capitulation is when guys like you and me are going, I just can't do this anymore, I'm done, I tap out, right? Do you have any regrets about it? Given that, you know, it might have been so much more money or...
Well, I had this conversation the other day with another friend that you know, Chinese, of course, and she says, young single men never make responsible financial decisions. I'm like, yeah, because young men don't want to be financially responsible. They just don't want no debt.
No, I don't know if that's true, though. I think that's one way to look at it. The other way is that the financial... because we were talking about this whole Russian-American sort of aggression that's going on. Given that, especially that Los Angeles, California, the forefront of current human rights movements and stuff like that, you name it. I mean, whatever gender you identify as, you can be. That's fine. But I think financial warriordom is the new way of being a warrior, is that you have to wield the dollar so much more better. It's your new battle axe. And so you're willing to be a lot more aggressive with your money, especially as a young man. Women... Don't sexify this. I am sexifying it, but it's like young men are far more aggressive with their money than young women are, and it could be societal, be cultural, but that is the new battlefront, is the money. So I mean, you were going into battle, financial battle, real estate battle. You bought it. Did you make money on the house?
Yeah.
So I mean, you made.
Paid off most of my school debt.
Well, there you go. What was the percentage gains?
35%.
Gold.
Yeah.
I mean, that's beautiful.
Well, I can't. That's the reason I never went to graduate school.
Because you were so rich, or
no,
what?
because I have so much school debt.
Oh, that's why.
And I had to buy the house or pay off all the debt, school debt.
Yeah.
And I decided to buy the house because it was hedging. Because I still have money left over. But when the economy crashes, like I lost the hedge.
That's your financial warrior right there.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going, ooh, I could do this, could do that. I mean,
I was trying to do both at the same time, and I hedged it, and I lost.
And that's typical of young men. But it's men lose that as they get older. Like, but even because you're in your 40s, women don't do that so much. Jordan Peterson goes on about this on his YouTube videos. He's like, for a woman at the age of 40 to do like basically even half of what you just did, not so common. Men, they're like, oh, you mean, wait a minute, so you're going to give me a house and I can mortgage and I can leverage and I could triple my gains? Or you could end up like super in debt and on heroin. The guy will take that bet almost every time. Not on heroin always time. I mean, it's just, they'll take that risk.
No, I read this.
Women won't.
I read this in Game Theory book.
Which game theory book?
game theory. I forgot the name.
Yeah.
The math is too complicated for me, but the author's talking exactly that women are more cautious than men when it comes to investment and gambling.
Which is why smart men get married.
Well, I'm still single. That's why.
So then, what does that tell you?
Yeah, I'm not that smart.
Hi, snappers. And you're leaving China without a wife, which, I mean, and these women are horribly smart when it comes to money. I mean, they no frills stupidity with this. They're not like, hey, let's start a podcast about nothing and buy a bunch of microphones that you don't need or cables that you'll never use. They don't do that. I don't think they do anyway.
Or weights you use once a year.
Or weights that you use once a year. I mean, I mean, in terms of risk reward, was it downtown Los Angeles that this house was, or
more or less, yeah.
Okay, so
near Dodgers, north of Dodger Stadium.
No idea where that is. Sorry, I'm Canadian, man.
It's okay, don't worry.
I know the Dodgers. I know that.
Yeah.
So
I went to a lot of Dodger games, man. Watching baseball live at the stadium,
very different than
watching on TV.
Oh, far different.
It's one of the best experiences you ever have.
Crazy difference. My brother and I were in Chicago for July 4th.
Mm-hmm.
We saw Chicago Cubs and the other team, White Sox or Black Sox. Oh. Chicago Cubs. It was like a crosstown rivalry or whatever it was. I don't know. I can't remember. But seeing it at Wrigley Field, first of all.
Wrigley Field, right?
Yeah,
right.
You stand there, you're going, that's Wrigley Field. I mean, this stadium has a name to it, like not just the gum, but like people have been here before. So yeah, seeing baseball alive. But this is an American thing. No one else cares about baseball except Japan.
South Korea is pretty good.
Really?
I was hoping that baseball would catch on in China too. That was kind of always.
Why?
Well, they need the Chinese are Yao Ming of baseball for them to get into it before they get into it.
And there's no one, not yet.
Not yet. It will happen one day, not in my lifetime.
Wow. Are you planning on dying soon, or is it like that many generations?
My life is halfway gone, man.
No, don't say that, because we're very similar in age. You're not halfway done. I'm only a third, maybe. Only if I choose to end it 3 times later.
So, why I came to China? I've always wanted to come to China for a long time, way before, before the market crash. So I'll start with the taking the Chinese-Japanese history class and taking Chinese philosophy back in the 90s.
You did send me this outline.
Yeah.
Octavio took a very good... you were very prepared for this. I appreciate it, because I was actually kind of under the weather the entire week. So preparation for this was delayed. But you sent me this whole outline of basically from 1995 to 2015. Mm-hmm. And my first impression was looking at the first date in which you say took a Chinese and Japanese history class. Mm-hmm. That was 1995.
Yeah. Only 19.
Wow. How much younger you were back then. But when we met, you were very excited about learning Chinese.
This is true.
To the extent that I was like, the fuck's wrong with you, man? I mean, you're a cinephile? A China
at times
language, culture, language love. You want to learn the language because you want to get into the business.
Yeah.
The business aspect of things. 27 years looking at the language.
Been that long.
I mean, what was your initial, can you remember back 1995 when you took Chinese?
Yes.
What was the inspiration? What was it like?
I could remember everything. There was no digital electronic dictionaries. That's redundant.
Brutal.
They would give you tapes in the cassettes to listen.
Yeah.
You listen in the car because it was before even CD. That's how old I am. But you had to do everything by paper, so you remember better. You remember the characters better. That's why last year I hired someone else to teach me the strokes again.
Yeah.
So I could physically write them down by hand so I could remember better. It actually works. Not to get sidetracked with paper versus digital, but yeah, so 1995, it was just that one semester. I was learning the language quickly, just understanding it, reading it. It was pretty cool, but then I just joined the military.
As most young American people do.
Oh yeah, it's true. My nephew just joined the Navy recently. But in that history class, and that's partially why I took the Chinese language, was at that time China became the 4th largest economy in the world after U.S., Japan, and Germany.
I've heard this number so many times, and
Yeah.
I don't know what I believe about it anymore. But
Well, all the factories are here, so there's probably a lot of validity to it.
back late 80s, early 90s, but that was after Deng Xiaoping opened up the country.
Right,
I mean,
he died in 97.
yeah,
If I remember correctly.
but his policies were sort of, that wasn't right after, because that was 1978 or early 80s, somewhere around there. He made that statement that it's not a sin to get rich or something like that, something along those lines.
And there was something like a cat skin, whatever. Yeah, he has a lot of quotes.
Yes, a quotable man he is. But so then you what was the inspiration though? I mean, that was it because you thought it was because you saw some sort of news about China being.
Well, I think because even personally, I saw China was already a rising power, whether they wanted to admit it or not.
Back in '95.
Even in that history class, in the West, we don't get taught this because we like to think that we're all superior. But the truth is, why is there a North and South Korea? It's because the Chinese army came in from the north to fight back the Americans and the Brits to that parallel. And that's what Mao Zedong said to the Chinese. We finally stood up to the West for the first time. And what Westerners don't understand is the reason why they had a rise in Chinese nationalism, because they got hosed in the Treaty of Versailles after World War One. They were treated like employees or a colony as opposed to equal partners. And that's why you had all these problems. So that's why I don't like to get into the discussions about China this, China that, because unless you read the Treaty of Versailles and how the Chinese were treated by the West after World War One, then you don't really understand why there was a nationalist movement.
Well, this is
in
news
this country.
to me.
Yeah, because most Westerners don't know it. And so the professor, he's American, but he's extremely proficient in Chinese. He's like HSK 6 proficiency.
White or Chinese?
White.
Or?
He's a white dude.
I hate to use that
In fact, the funny thing is his name's Karl Marx, and his name's Robert Marx, but with a K.
Right, okay. It would have been funny if he was Mr. Smith and was like so generically American.
But also my philosophy professor also taught Chinese philosophy and Buddhism, and there was a lot of similarities. You see, like, back then you could already see that there was a paradigm shift in power. So we can get into the book Reorient that was written by Andre Gunderfrank, which is Canadian, by the way, which was friends, older mentor to my professor, Dr. Marx, gave him most information that a lot of independent American scholars saw the writing on the wall in the late 90s that there is going to be a paradigm shift of wealth that's just generally going to go back to Asia. So when I went to Europe in 2000, the summer 2000, after I got out of the military.
This is backpacking, right? Or what?
I wouldn't call it backpacking, call it like sleeping in the streets and slumming it. But I was in Europe for 2 months.
Backpacking by another name.
I didn't speak any other language except English.
No, you as American. Nothing else but English. Go figure.
Monolinguistic. But this is what happened in Europe.
Only linguistic.
Yeah. I was just really embarrassed that I can only speak one language and everybody in Europe is speaking 3.
And it's a humbling experience, isn't it?
Very humbling. And when I got back to the States, I said, all right, I'm going to start with Spanish and then I'm going to Chinese.
But your family, Spanish ancestry.
I'm third generation.
Oh, you're done.
It's kind of like with you. You have to go back and learn Ukrainian. And,
horrible.
Yeah.
You lose it.
It's the same thing.
You understand the culture and everything, but it's like if you were to talk to your grandmother, abuela.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not.
My great grandmother, yes.
Oh, okay. So your grandmother spoke English though.
Yeah, my grandparents are all my grandparents were born in America.
Right.
The great grandparents are all from Mexico.
Right. Proper fucking Mexico.
And they spoke no English.
True immigrants.
Yeah, true immigrants.
Do you know why they went to the States or
Mexican Revolution?
Okay, what happened?
It was a Mexican Revolution.
What guns were going off in their neighborhood?
Well, this was interesting because the juxtaposition from China to the Mexican Revolution, there was a lot of things happening in the early 20th century with the paradigm shifts of going from agrarian agricultural societies to industrialization.
Yeah.
And that's what was going on in Russia, China, Mexico, and other parts of the world.
At the same time?
More or less.
Okay.
Okay, when Karl Marx wrote the book for the Communist Manifesto, he was writing for Germany and the industrialized world. He wasn't writing.
People.
He wasn't writing for fucking farmers. That's the misconception that people get wrong about Karl Marx. He was not writing for Russia.
It was factory workers.
Yeah, he was writing for the factory workers. But we'll get to that later if you want about how you solve, we get egalitarianism. So the Mexicans that came over, the Mexicans that came over, 2 million came over during the Mexican Revolution. You always hear the stories like, oh yeah, we used to be rich. Your grandma used to be rich. Well, it was kind of true because they
relatively speaking,
because they had the money to leave Mexico. but they moved to the U.S. or wherever they went, and like they go down in society, but they left the bloodshed.
Right. They didn't get shot in the face.
Right.
I mean,
Well, my great grandmother's first husband actually did get shot in the face.
Wow.
I'm not,
funny story.
Yeah. It was my mom's. It wasn't her father, thank God, but it was her mom's first husband. Yeah. So these stories are true, and so
are there pictures?
So when you look at the Mexican Revolution, and you juxtaposition it to the Chinese coming,
right?
That's kind of what happened. But the Chinese kind of figured out quickly that hey, this communism thing doesn't really work, does it?
So that's what the Mexican.
No, we're talking about China now.
Okay.
Because that's when you get into Deng Xiaoping's policies when he opened up China. Because Deng Xiaoping and Mao Zedong actually had a lot of clashes in the late 60s and early 70s. A lot.
Yes. Well, half that had to do with in Mao Zedong was a sort of and the country acknowledges that he was sort of not altogether there towards the end of his life. That he was. I'm not sure if it was dementia or something, but they're like he wasn't fully mentally able to sort of make decisions on his own. So.
I'm just making an assumption that it's kind of like Winston Churchill's great for war, but he's not good for peace.
In what way?
So Mao Zedong won the war, but he just wasn't good for peacetime economics.
Yeah, and we were talking about this before about like sort of how this you kind of wonder how some things happen and then it does. Mao Zedong was one of those guys who stood up, and given that all the people, I look at the Baoan that protect the gates, who protect the gates in quotation because they're nice guys, but they know all the delivery guys. They know most of the foreign. They know the people who come in and out.
Right.
If it's someone they don't know, they'll be like they will scream and shout until you scan that QR code.
Right.
Right. Same with like if it's a new Baoan that doesn't know my face, he will scream and shout till I scan him. I'm like, dude, I live here. He's like, but I don't know that. Right. Mao Zedong took that whole and he just kind of that idea like being very familiar with being very congenial. And he just stepped up. And it's like we could have it better, and I mean China history after. So I mean it's a big story after that. There's another guy who does a great podcast. He doesn't talk about that era, but he talks a lot about what led up to 1911.
Right to 11, the revolution. Right.
Right. So. So you're Mexican, third generation. Have you ever been back to the hometown?
Oh yeah. So when I got back in 2000 from Europe, I took my first real proper Spanish class in college in 2001.
You didn't know Spanish beforehand?
No, fuck no. I mean, we didn't learn it.
Proper American immigrant child.
We just said frijoles, arroz, all the bad words.
Per favor.
Pendejo, cabrón, all those bad words.
That's how we lose an audience. Or educate one.
But this is where everything just took off. After I graduated in December 2001, that's when I asked my father, can I go live in Mexico and learn Spanish, but live with your contact?
Family or contact?
His contact.
What happened to the family?
Well, they don't speak Spanish. See, my mom and dad learned Spanish from their grandparents.
Okay.
So that's something different. So I wanted to go to Mexico because I took that Mexican seminar class and it really caught my attention.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it's like kind of like you. I wanted to like get to know like where did my great grandparents come from.
Yeah.
And so, interesting enough, my father's contact or client, I should say former client, actually is from Puebla, which was where my great grandfather was from.
Okay.
So that's 100 miles south of Mexico City. So I went down there. When the Patriots won the Super Bowl against the Rams.
There's an American dating system.
Definitely.
U.S. presidential elections and Super Bowls. And World Series would be the other one that people date things by.
Yeah, I don't remember when the World Series that year. But
no, was that Toronto? No, that was 92.
No, that was a long time ago.
No, a very long time ago. That's not an American history legend.
That's Canadian history.
Oh, yeah, whatever. No one cares about that. Okay, so it's around 2000, 2002, around there.
Yeah, once or 2002, I went down there in January.
Okay. How long were you there for?
5 months. I went to a private school. And this is what I always tell the Chinese.
Private school, come on.
It's kind of like your Shandong Fong, your Weibo.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Training center. I'm sorry, training center.
It's a language institute, okay.
But the director was actually American, but his family was from Spain, but he lived in Mexico with his Mexican wife. And he said something that I tell every Chinese student, even my friend Jane, If he said if you continue to use the Spanish English dictionary, you're going to hit a ceiling with the improvement of your language because you're always translating back into your own language. You have to use the Spanish dictionary only when you read.
But it takes a long time to get to that
It
point,
does.
doesn't it?
It does, and it's not easy.
It's that okay, and I see what you're saying because like Chinese has the same thing, but even with Ukrainian or the other Eastern European language out there, when you read what that word is and then how they describe that word,
Right.
it's very different than doing the translation.
Correct.
Right.
And
So what did you learn from that then?
Well, I was like the normal Chinese student. I'm just use a Spanish English dictionary. It's just like I don't know. But it wasn't
too hard.
Yeah, exactly. But it wasn't until 2006, 2007 when I moved with these guys from Mexico that I said, okay, I'm going to take the advice of the director. Right? And when I started using the Spanish dictionary only to read newspaper articles mainly, I was actually starting to be able to think in Spanish.
Yeah.
Not translate anymore, and it was a weird feeling.
How long? So how long did that take? How many years to get to the point where you could think in Spanish?
Probably about 2.
2 years, but you're not in Mexico at this point.
No, I mean, some people laugh at me because I can't speak Spanish anymore.
I thought you were fluent though.
No. I was, at best, I was probably a band 6.
Okay.
Because you're getting into the idioms, and the idioms are something that I just didn't get half the time. They have to be explained.
Yeah.
Right. That's the difference between the beginners, intermediate, and advanced level are the idioms,
Where you're
or
able
what we call
to
figurative language and literature.
Yeah. I hear some of our students talk about these how they use idiomatic language, and I go, I can't do that in Chinese, and to get to that level, it's such a debilitating, horribly humbling, long pathway of like, I don't know if I want to do this journey anymore. Can I just go home, please? But I listen to how like Chinese people do it. If they can do it to English, I'm like, I assume I could do it for Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been people throughout history, not just modern, not some just our colleagues, but other people throughout history who've written dictionaries and grammars about the Chinese language. It's possible.
Mm-hmm.
You can learn these things. It's just how much time do you dedicate every day of your life, and what's your focus? I mean, I think even nowadays, especially, we're horribly distracted with so many more play toys. I mean, look at how many toys I have around here, right? Electronics all over the place, right? Yeah. How much can you focus on these things? So you're saying you're not fluent. You're like a band 6. You're high intermediate.
At my best, I was probably a band 6.
Are you able to talk to Judy or Lorenzo like fluently, or
I can't go more than 2 minutes.
Really? Wow.
I spent over 13 years.
Yeah.
But going back to Spanish and Chinese and English, when I read that book Reorient, and all those going back to Asia, see, we have major paradigm shifts of wealth. 500 years ago, the center of the world was actually the Indian Ocean. So you think about China.
That's an odd statement, but okay.
South Asia and the Arabs. Yeah. They were the center of the world 500 years ago. Everything flew through them. And what the book is arguing, that it was the capitalist system already built in the Indian Ocean that integrated the Europeans into it, because the Europeans, and what they hate to say it, they were poor.
Yeah.
They had nothing to trade with the Indian Ocean.
But they did it better.
Until the slave trade happened.
Oh, what's this?
And when Columbus went west, he was looking to go to China to find the pot of gold to raise an army to wipe out the Muslims. That's why he did it. So
it was all about money and war. And Muslims.
With the Europeans,
Are you stating that the Muslims are...
Well, so what ended up happening, Columbus, landed in the Americas, and then they realized, like, oh, this is not India. This is a whole different world. Even though they look dark, but they don't have the dot on their head. They're not Indians.
Right.
And that's when the Italian bankers and the Spanish and the Portuguese got involved, and they started buying because what happened in the Americas, because of the diseases because there was no domestication of animals in the Americas. You read Dr. Diamond's Guns, Germs, and Steels talks about this. Mm-hmm. The reason why the natives died off at 95% was because they did not have an immune system to the diseases that the Europeans
were bringing over, because it was so new to them. Like, they were so isolated up until that point. But that, when Columbus and afterwards, there was such an influx of Europeans that it was too much at once for the local population to handle. Had it been a slow trickle, they might have been able to...
Well, it took a long time. And after when the natives started dying off and they couldn't have them as workers, it's when the Europeans went to the African kingdoms and say, "Sell us your prisoners," basically slaves.
Right.
And that's sort of the Atlantic slave trade. So now that you have this workforce digging gold and silver in Mexico and Peru from Spain predominantly and somewhat Portugal, all that money was flowing into the Italian bankers into China because the Italian bankers were buying porcelain from China, and China started using all about currencies and money. That's when the Chinese
You're telling me new information here. This is I'm fascinated. Tell me more.
So that's when the emperor of the time. I'm not even familiar with the Chinese emperor's names, but that's when the Chinese went from paper money to hard money.
Right.
Gold and silver. And then
1700s, 1800s, or 1600s?
16th, 17th century.
Okay.
Yeah, like 100 years after 1492.
Right.
When it really started to take off. And that's why Spain was the richest country in the Western world, next to the Emperor of China.
Conquistadors.
Yeah. So, how do we go in this conversation? So, anyways, we're talking about paradigm shifts. So, anyways, what happened? The British into slavery, the Spanish Empire collapsed because the next Emperor of China decided went back to using fiat money, and just crashed.
So it didn't work. The gold and silver didn't work out. That's not a good thing.
Well, that's the myth this is the myth the British tell. The British like to say they destroyed the Spanish Empire.
I'm getting this just from what you told me, that they just went back to fiat currency because gold and silver didn't work out.
They just stopped using it. And so you have a over surplus of gold and silver in your vaults in Spain and Italy, which that's what actually crashed the Spanish economy. It wasn't the British.
They had too much gold.
The British are beautiful at just sensationalizing their history about everything.
America adopted this.
This is true. I ain't gonna lie. But now what we're witnessing in the last 20, 30 years is now the new wealth of the world is the Pacific Ocean. And so...
You think so?
Oh, yeah. Totally.
How?
Well...
I'm interested. Tell me. Tell me your version of this.
So the only reason why I've stayed here this long and why I even came to China in the first place, and first started in Mexico, is because the argument... Back in 2001, I read the book, and to this day, is this is the center of the world now, the Pacific Ocean. Not China per se, but China and the Americas. Maybe Canada could be on that too. I don't know.
Are you saying that Japan or Australia or Taiwan or South Korea they're in the Pacific Ocean?
That's right, and they're benefiting from it.
Or what's that island that has those faces on it?
Easter Island?
That's the one. Could it be a powerhouse?
Well, I don't know. That's in the South Pacific.
Well, but that's Pacific. I mean, you're saying the balance has shifted. I'm just throwing out names here.
Well, think of it this way: if there was no shift in power, the Europeans wouldn't have their companies here. They'd be back in Europe.
You're right. No, and okay, but you've been here for a while. We've known each other for a while. You've been in Beijing for a while. You weren't just in Beijing though. You've been in all other parts.
5 years in Tianjin.
So you have a bit more of a China, a larger view of China available to you. Do you see a lot of foreign companies, whether it's American or European, whatever? Are they still here, and are they still operating, or have they left?
Well, that's the interesting thing that's been happening this year. I have this friend from Singapore, or I met her through InterNations, and
which we need to talk about, my friend.
Yeah, we'll get to that soon. We'll get to that soon, but I get a lot of my information from her lately because I just VPN's always being throttled, and I just get tired of reading all this nonsense, but she said something interesting, that the foreign companies that had always operated in China are now leaving China.
Fully leaving, like China, like Asian headquarters are leaving.
They're just moving their headquarters outside of China.
Where?
Not exactly sure where. Maybe Singapore, Hong Kong, or Taiwan, or.
Singapore still has the Chinese element to it. So it's
I've never been there.
Great city, country, city, state, very hot. I don't think you'd like it.
I didn't like Shanghai. I didn't like the Shanghai weather, man.
Why am I still sweating? It's winter. My body doesn't do this. Very hot. Very. I like the city. I thought it was very well organized, but apparently that's sort of. I don't want to say it's a facade. It's a covering over of a lot of some of the issues that faces Singapore as itself. Okay. Because Singapore took a very hard-handed approach to what it was 40, 50 years ago when it separated from Malaysia. And there's that split, that there was the whole Malay influence, but Singapore went, we don't see you doing the good things to build into anything more than what you are right now. Singapore said that it wanted to be more than what it was.
Okay.
And what was his name? I have his book here, Lee Kuan Yew. Yeah, Lee
Kuan
Kuan Yew.
Yew.
He was the guy who came in and said, okay, that's it. Capital punishment for this. We're doing harsh criticisms for this. We're doing financial restructuring. And it made it much... I'm not sure what his tax policies were, but it must have been favorable because it attracted a lot of business to Singapore.
Well, yeah, the co-founder of Facebook is now a Singaporean citizen, isn't he?
Almost everybody knows a Singaporean or wants to become
What's
one.
his name? Jim Rogers?
Jim Rogers. He's not co-founder of anything. He's Soros' buddy, George Soros' buddy.
Not surprised.
But he moved there he moved there years ago. He's back in New York, I think. I'm not sure if he's still in Singapore.
I used to watch that guy religiously like 10 years ago. He was interesting.
And now, well, I respect his opinion. He was very bullish on China 30 years ago, and I think that opinion was correct 30 years ago. Now I kind of wonder if it's so great, why aren't you here, sort of thing, like for Jim Rogers sort of thing. But Singapore, I mean, we've had several colleagues from Singapore, and I'm like, if there's one sort of, I hate to say Western Asian city, but that's what it set itself up as. Singapore did. It's like, we understand how the Western system worked, how it flourished. We want to emulate that here. We don't want the same sort of things that are going on in other parts of Asia. And Singapore has made itself a very available center.
Okay.
Hong Kong was like that up until recently, basically. And China's trying to consolidate its gains, right? It's trying to consolidate its sort of culture and its people and everything. Singapore is so far removed from that it doesn't have the same sort of threat. So for companies to move from mainland China to Singapore, you still have that Chinese connection, language, culture, understanding. People can move between the two places as well, mostly freely. I'm not surprised. I'm surprised that Singapore isn't in the news more often than it is compared to Hong Kong or Beijing or Shanghai.
Yeah, but Hong Kong's in the news for different reasons.
For very different reasons.
Yeah.
But next month, I think there's a meeting of all the big bankers or big money people that they're convening once again to discuss how to make Hong Kong a bit more accessible, given the current situation. Like whatever the current situation is in 2 weeks' time.
Right.
But they're looking... So they're still coming back to Hong Kong. Like Hong Kong hasn't lost its appeal overall. It's just... There's certain things that they're like the government, the policy doesn't want to happen.
You know, I thought about this, and I want to put it in the most correct way possible without offending people. Hong Kong is to China.
Good luck.
Hong Kong is to China what the American Bahamas and Caymans are to America.
Oh, really?
Well, you ever heard?
You have to explain this.
Well, because Hong Kong has its own citizenship, its own money, and you have more autonomy financially.
But Hong Kong is technically part of mainland China.
I get that part, and I don't dispute it. I don't get involved in people's marriages. I learned that a long time ago.
What? It's not a marriage.
But with Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, that's why the British did do the same thing with the Cayman Islands.
Right.
That's their way of, we don't want to use the word launder money, but it's the way you transfer money and use it in an international way.
But it was the outlet for so long.
Right.
I'm not sure what your opinion of or your view or your impression of what Chinese movies were back when you were younger.
Oh, I watched Hong Kong Kung Fu movies.
It was all Hong Kong.
Yeah.
It wasn't mainland China.
No, it wasn't.
You see mainland Chinese
Kung
movies.
Fu theater, they're awful.
Brutal, but they had that indie spirit, that indie, not even Hollywood, that indie filmmaking spirit to them. Something that was not in mainland China for a very long time.
Really?
I would say it's...
I gave up on mainland Chinese movies like 10 years ago. I just couldn't dread it.
Not a bad idea.
I just couldn't dread it
Not
anymore.
a bad idea, but I think there's more of an effort now. I think the younger generation is a lot more resilient, flexible, and able to express itself within the boundaries that are set on its sides. Because Hollywood has boundaries too. It's just the current whole cancel culture. I mean, that's a different
That's a whole other topic.
Different gauntlet to run, but before that, there was other gauntlets that you had to run. I think mainland China does have an opportunity there, And the young people that are involved in the filmmaking and the arts, they're able to work between the worlds, I think, are a little bit more than the stale old guys. Let's face it. I mean, and so much of politics and the cameras are faced on stale old men.
It's interesting because I know this guy. He's Chinese American, but he was actually born in China, and he's in the Chinese. He was in the Chinese movie industry, and he went to the American Hollywood movie industry. It's a lot of drama, but stick with the movies. His biggest grievance with Chinese movies was that there was too much censorship.
Is that what it was?
And then I go to him and I was like, I just told him, like, you think that Hollywood doesn't censor? It's like, I grew up in Hollywood. I know exactly what they do and what they don't do.
Yeah, but you're not in the film industry.
But I'm not in the film industry, but I mean, I'm a consumer of films. That's what we do.
So am I. That doesn't mean much.
Yeah, you need all these wannabe actors and singers and entertainers.
That's true.
That's part of the culture of Los Angeles. It's always been like that, too. My grandmother told me, like, when she was a kid, see how these girls come from the Midwest trying to make it in the new Hollywood industry. But what I was getting at is like, you think this superpower over here on the other side of the ocean doesn't censor, doesn't condition, then you're smoking crack, dude. It's like both sides do it. It's just they just do it differently.
And the Western media perceives one to be worse than the other. And we don't have to say which side it is, because that one changes. It really changes. Because the Western media, particularly the Western media, is susceptible to payments. That they have a job to do, and I mean, they're media entertainers just by another name.
I'll give you an example. Like the movie The Alamo came out in 2006, 2007. And I was in Mexico at the time when it came out. Nobody in Mexico even bothered watching the movie.
Why?
Well, because it was such a fabrication of history. See, the reason why the Alamo happened, or the annexation of Texas, was because the white slave owners from the east moved into Texas, which is Mexican territory, and slavery was outlawed. That's why President Santana sent in the troops into Alamo to take out the white slave owners coming from the East Coast.
And they lost.
Eventually, because the U.S. Army got involved. But it was all about slavery. And that's why I looked at him like, dude, like, you don't think American Hollywood doesn't create propaganda to brainwash people? Because he's so anti his own heritage, which I understand to an effect, but it's like, everybody does it. When you're in power.
I think one of the big differences with the propaganda, in quotation marks, of the American media entertainment system is that anyone can make it. They're also free. It's not just the what's on screen. It's everything outside of it.
Mm-hmm.
Technology, people, interviews, the whole media system. That can all flourish based on ideas like, hey, that sounds like I might do this for this guy who's paying me to do this for a movie, but that's a great idea. I can offshoot that and make it into podcasts. I can make it into whatever. I mean, so there's other derivatives that can flourish, even though there's quote-unquote censorship on the final product of the big movies, because the movie companies will pay for things. It's the studio system. That's nothing new. The big five studios, MGM, Universal, Disney,
right?
I mean, they're huge. If they didn't like your script, they sent it back for rewrites, or they just bought another one. That was the system. You could still learn within that process. And in the United States, given that system, you could make money, a new market for yourself with your know-how. You can't do that in other parts of the world. The American system is free capitalist. If you can make money off it, you can. But unlike other parts of the world, they're like, well, you can make money off that, but that's not what we're doing right now. We're not going to do that. So you just stop that.
I can see your point on that.
Right. So, I mean, I think that is the huge difference. Like even in places like Russia, that sort of, promote the whole, for the working man, communism, anti-West, anti-US, anti-West. You're going, but the anti-West system allows for resilience. If you get hit with a no, you go with a no but. And you can work with the but, whatever that word is, 1 T, not 2. And you can make it into a new market. You can go with it. You can make it your own your own business and stuff like that. That is the freedom of the free capitalist system that the United States chest beats with guns and free speech. Like, it's those three things that makes America America. Coming from a Canadian.
Before we get on the guns, no but. There's how many different words for but in Chinese again? It's like 5 or 6.
I have no idea. There's lots.
Yeah.
But there's, I mean, it's okay, but
it's
depends
all
how you
different
translate.
context.
However, but
I liked it,
and,
but it needed
so
more
there's
thought.
different conjunctions. I mean, the Chinese is the same thing.
That was the interesting part. But yeah, I get your point with the.
If you can,
movies,
if
right?
you can make a market for people to buy whatever shit that you have, you can do that in the States. China, not so much.
Well,
Russia, no. China, you can do it with AI and robotics, and you're going to get government funding for it. That's a huge push, which I'm surprised you're not into at this point. But United States, some people criticize Elon Musk as being the reason why Tesla has done so well is because he's been taking advantage of the government green credits or whatever system.
Yeah, I heard about that.
I don't. As a Canadian living in China, going
Well, 10 years ago, Tesla was a total bust in China, and someone said, one of those comments is reading is like the reason why it's not working in China is because Chinese don't have garages, so you have to build an entire infrastructure.
You do look outside. You look outside.
But yeah, 10 years later, they built the infrastructure to charge up your little Tesla car.
Yes.
Yeah, but it took them a long time to do it.
And if there's one thing, so like one of the probably the best things about China is that like if they once they latch onto an idea, they do it. It's like that. Is it a transformer that it's all in pieces, and then you say assemble, and all of a sudden you have this massive transformer standing in front of you, going, where did that come from?
Talking about Devastator.
Just I don't know, it's Devastator or the other. Well, any positive, negative.
Luticus.
Pick your transformer, pick your whatever assemblage. They're able to mobilize and actualize the idea.
Okay.
Without further question. Unlike the States. So they've been shut down by the 5 studios. And then they take you can't do that, but if you made a market, and then they do this. But then every person who tries to contribute, that innovator asks to help, all of the people ask, but can we do that? Should we do that? That's the United States. That's the problem, the gauntlet that you have to face in the United States, is the mental rigor of like everybody questioning whether or not you're right. Here they don't do that. They just, government said do it, do it. United States, government says do it, they're like, I don't trust you, you're government. I don't trust my neighbor, he might be in with the government, he's Republican? Or he's Democrat, or he's bipartisan. Not going to happen. I mean, that's a different gauntlet to fight.
Or he hates gay people. I don't know what it is.
Pick your like, why? Why would you even be concerned about that when it comes down to money and business? But that's the States.
Well, that's the paradox of America. America is supposed to be very pragmatic in terms of business, but people have these...
blinders? Ideals.
There you go. Thank you. Ideals. Too ideological.
Yeah.
And that's what blinds them.
I call it the Jesus Christ symptoms.
Go ahead, explain that.
Everybody thinks that they're Jesus Christ. And you're going, I don't... The fuck? No, you're not reinventing judo.
I totally agree with you.
Everybody thinks, and it's... I want to travel through... Oh, God, after this podcast, I'm not going to be able to, but... I want to travel through the southern United States because I want to do a road trip. I was thinking of... I would love to take my girlfriend, but I don't know if she would survive in any number of ways.
Well, it's all desert.
But when we get to a small town, what happens?
I don't know.
When we go to a hotel, when we go to a bar, as a white guy, I have one impression. As a Chinese woman who's never lived anywhere else in her life, something else, who knows? But the whole amazing I am right in my interpretation of the Bible exists in the southern states. And I think that is phenomenal. But it's not just the Bible, it's like their ideas are supreme. There's an
oh, you want to do I-40?
Is that what it is? But what is that?
It goes through the Bible Belt.
Okay, I'm not sure. I want to do the Bible Belt only. Southern states.
Kansas.
I want to get the greatest sort of exposure to the southern states.
Tennessee. Where's Bill Clinton from? Arkansas.
Right on. But something along those lines, where the whole idea of the American South is just so patriotic to their own ideas that's they can't be wrong. I can't be wrong. It's my idea. You're going, but you can be wrong if it's your idea. You have to listen to others. The American psyche is not geared towards that, as far as I understand. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Well, what's interesting is in our industry, I've rarely come across Southern Americans from the Deep South, or even the South in general.
There's been a few people.
In the 13 years I've been here, I rarely meet anybody from the Deep South.
Do you hang out in those circles, though, where you meet Deep South people?
They just don't exist, because I think it's going back to your point. Those people just stay where they are. They don't leave.
Yeah.
Even their county. I mean, I've met people from Tennessee and Missouri.
Yeah.
Like my friend Zach's in Missouri, but it's just a handful. Most of them I meet are from northern states, East Coast, or California, or Washington, or Oregon.
Yeah, see, and I'm thinking, like, you meet a lot of Americans.
A few from Texas, but they never come from the South or the Deep South. I've noticed that.
That's true.
When was the last time we had a coworker where we used to work, or I used to work, from the South, or even the Deep South? Never met one.
Honestly, even if they said they were, I wouldn't know where they're from.
Well, no, the only one from the South was actually Mateo, but Mateo's Mexican American. He's not from the Deep South of being
I
white
thought he
American.
was Spanish.
Nah, he's
American. He is American, isn't he?
Yeah. He's
Why was I thinking he's like European? He's not. He's actually American.
Well,
It explains a lot. First of all, second of all, like he's a very conversational guy. He's very flamboyantly social.
Well, you know why, but
but I didn't know that.
But no, he's from. I talked to him a few times. He's actually from Southern Texas.
Okay.
So Texas is a huge state.
Yeah. I want to go to Texas. Fuck. It just has such a character to it. And because there's one girl who she does cooking classes at the Hutong, the cooking place here.
I was there last night.
And she does this like Deep South sort of cooking.
Oh.
I can't remember her name.
Grits and.
But like fried chicken, mac and cheese,
the gravy.
like all the stuff. You know, people who swing kettlebells on a daily basis do not eat that stuff very often. But to try it out, that food, I think it'd be awesome to go experience the culture that made it what it is, sort of thing. Is that true, or am I?
Well,
am I living an ideal?
No, I don't know. I mean, I never been to the Deep South, but I did live in Texas when I was in San Antonio. But it's when I served with these guys in the military who come from the Deep South. There is a difference between Americans from the South, would be like Tennessee, Kansas, Kentucky, Carolinas, from the guys from the Deep South, which would be Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, parts of Georgia, and northern Florida.
Who are the unsafe people?
They're totally different. Totally different world.
Yeah.
Who are the unsafe people?
Yeah. Because the Deep South does have a bad reputation.
And they live up to it, tragically. And we all knew it. And when we were all in the military, we all knew that the guys from the Deep South had a different personality that just did not jive with the rest of us Americans. We just did not appreciate their demeanor, their behavior, and how they thought of people and things. And they are extremely ignorant. And I'm using that in the correct context.
Yeah. I ask because, like, having lived in China for so long, we see a rise in Chinese nationalism.
Yeah, I've noticed that too.
And it's very hard to sort of fight back to it, because you're going, the images that they see in the Western media is of these ultra right wing or ultra left wing, people in the United States that give the whole idea of being a nationalist a really bad name. It's like, but then you meet guys like you and the other people that we worked with, and you go, I don't know, like, is it? Do you think it is emblematic of the States, that sort of reputation of being ultra one side or the other, being that from the Deep South that has a bad reputation, or is America getting just a bad rap?
I'm not really sure, because I've actually never been to that part of the country.
How many people have? We don't meet them here. We don't meet them.
But I have been to Florida.
That's different.
No, people say that. I lived in Miami for a short while. I've been to Tallahassee. People from Florida told me that Florida is like 7 different states.
Yeah.
Culturally. When you break down America culture, it's like 5 different countries. And I even made the
5 different. Okay, where?
well, this is the problem. California, New York should be one
Right.
country.
Yeah.
The Midwest should be its own country.
Yeah.
The Deep South should be its own, and the North should be its own. But the problem is California, New York,
Where's number 5?
somewhere in the middle.
New York, probably. Would New York be its own country, probably?
Well,
Culture.
oh, New England, yeah,
The northeast.
Northeast,
Yeah.
yeah. They're all different. You ever listen to Bernie Sanders speak? You listen,
I don't
his
listen to
pronunciation-
United States Americans
His pronunciation
politicians
is
speak for-
so. It's northeast accent.
Where's Biden from?
We say car, and he says caw.
Caw.
Biden from Delaware.
Okay.
See,
Delaware's northeast, isn't it?
since you brought this up, I was kind of thinking like should I bring this up or not. What's interesting about Joe Biden, this is the same SOB that shipped all the factories out of China in the late 70s, early 80s.
And has a connection with Ukraine that he doesn't want talked about.
That's right.
He helped impeach the previous president who
Because-
called him out on it.
Because he wanted to investigate his son for the business dealings in Ukraine.
Right.
And but the worst part is Joe Biden is actually to the right of Donald Trump, but nobody was paying attention to it, even because Joe Biden has a 45-year record of passing right-wing bills.
Okay.
Crime bill, the manufacturing, sending it out of the country. He totally disrespects women. People thought Trump was bad at disrespecting women. Biden takes the cake. Anita Hill was this clerk working for Clarence Thomas.
Yeah, this is news because no one's ever even...
Because Americans have a sharp memory. I mean, this is before social media, so no one was really paying attention. So Anita Hill was this woman that used to clerk for Clarence Thomas, the Supreme Court Justice. But when he was going through the vetting process, she filed a grievance like he sexually harassed me, blah, blah, blah. And you can read it yourself. I'm not going to say it on here because we're doing a podcast. But Joe Biden was the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, and he totally deballed her and disrespected her, saying basically, you're lying, I don't believe it.
Right.
And he was a Democrat, and Clarence Thomas was appointed by the Republican President Herbert Walker Bush.
So it was an old government political.
So that's where the term "good old boys" comes from. Doesn't matter what party you are, you're part of the good old boy club.
Oh, good old boy. Is that...
it's an American term used for the people of the guys in power.
Right.
Doesn't matter what party affiliation they are. They wield the power, and they're going to decide what is and what isn't.
What is the other one that Biden was like, go... He said this on air sometime, and it turned out it was like go Biden, go or something, but it was some sort of chant.
Oh, go Brandon.
That's what it was.
It's a NASCAR thing.
Is that the same sort of idea, or...
No, that's basically colloquial for saying fuck you.
Right, because there was a phone call to Biden that he's like, go Brandon. It's like, you don't know what that guy just said, did you?
Yeah.
You dumb idiot. Yeah, no, Biden has never come across as a very intelligent person.
Oh, even Obama said himself, as long as you keep Joe Biden out of the cameras, he's not going to say anything stupid. No, I'm not here to talk about politics, but what I do find interesting in the last 10 years is how this guy rose to power, even though he's the most racist, sexist guy we've ever elected, because they didn't like the other guy because he had mean tweets.
And because he was also sexist, the other thing, and like all the things.
That's what they say. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah.
But with Joe Biden...
Are you a Trumper?
No, but I was glad Hillary lost. That was the happiest day of my life.
I think that's the only thing. I'm glad she didn't win.
Oh, she's awful.
But that's the only reason why Trump won.
She's awful.
Yeah.
I mean, she covered up her husband's rape.
Again.
In the late 70s when he was governor, she actually covered it up and discredited those women coming out the claims. Like,
wouldn't you want a wife like that, though, who goes to town for that?
Well, if I were a rapist, I guess, but I'm not.
That's a very good point. So wait, are you saying you...
And she was the one that called black people super predators trying to pass Joe Biden's crime bill in 94.
She has said a lot of dumb things. The media magically just disappears. Which, we can talk about all sorts of forms of censorship and internet choices of information. I think the United States leads in that because it does, again, going back to the whole, if your movie doesn't make it, you can make money elsewhere.
Right.
I think there are derivatives within the United States of... whether it's intelligence sponsored or not, they have more ways to manipulate the media than anybody else can around the world.
Master marketing.
And I think the States is proud of that. I think they're like, well, we're number one. Like, you can talk about them, but we're still number one.
Well,
Like,
George Carlin said it himself. He goes, America's best at bullshitting
yeah,
people.
well, we created it. We made it.
That's right. We own it.
It's working. Yes.
That's right. But going back to policy-wise, Joe Biden and Bill Clinton and during the early 90s were the ones that gave China all that WTO international status.
So would anyone ever disagree with what you just said here? Like the whole Biden
I'm
stuff?
just factually talking.
Okay, every American, I'm just talking fact. Okay, especially American men.
If I say Joe Biden's the best president in the world,
yeah,
that's argumentative.
But yeah.
That's my claim. But factually, Bill
could
Clinton...
someone come across and say, all right, no, but actually, all those deals that you just talked
Well, since
about...
we're academics, they got to prove, they got to disprove.
Would they be able to?
Because it's factually true that Joe Biden and Bill Clinton gave China the status they have in the early 90s.
The favorable country or whatever is the trading partner status.
I didn't even know that until 4 years ago when I was working with this guy from Minnesota.
Did anybody? I don't think anybody did back in the early 90s.
No, because Americans don't pay attention to anything.
And no one reads that stuff.
Exactly.
No one.
Exactly. No one reads policy.
Politicians are they're beaticians upon the academic essayists. They're like, look over here while these academics craft this really wordy legal document.
That makes no sense. It's like pure. It's like Owen Johnson and I had this conversation over a year ago on the train. But the problem with American and somewhat British politics is we don't vote on policies because no one reads it. We vote on personalities.
At the same time, though, I mean, with the States, there's a lot of people who are willing to social media warrior that shit. I mean, people do read, but they don't get the same coverage as the pretty faces.
That's true. That's why they call Ocasio-Cortez the TikTok congresswoman.
Is that the she's
the Puerto Rican girl?
She's pretty.
No, she's hot, but she's a fraud. It took me a while to figure out. I think I passed her pretty face and her nice bosom. And I listened to her a couple of times 2 years ago speaking in Congress. I go, she really doesn't know what she's talking about. But to be fair, someone made this argument 15 years ago that most Congress people have no idea what they're talking about because the laws have not caught up with the technology.
Yeah.
And, it's like the technology changes faster than the laws. And how do you keep up with that? I mean, 15 years ago, I thought I understood everything about technology. It's like, before my very eyes, it's like, what? Okay,
so in terms of technology, I mean, to get away from politics, with the in terms of technology and seeing how things have developed, 1995, you take this Chinese history and Japanese history class, but you didn't come to China until much later.
Mm-hmm.
What delayed you? Was this whole journey of finding yourself into Mexico and everything? Your story of going down to Mexico is actually very typical of Ukrainian hyphenates in Canada, doing the whole European, I want to find my family sort of thing.
Yeah.
Very common. So it's like you're finding your ancestry sort of thing, but you're going south rather than to east, I guess, right? To Europe, right?
Right.
But so that 10. You came to China in what year? 2007?
2009.
2009. So
September 2009.
14-year difference. I mean,
yeah.
But it was festering there. I mean,
well, one thing that kept me from coming sooner was actually the debt.
Okay.
That was one thing.
So money.
Yeah, it was always about money. The reason why I never got proficient in Spanish was always about I got to go back to the States and pay off the debt. It's always about the debt. With
and
Americans,
you couldn't do classes at the same time?
Well,
but you were dedicated.
It wasn't that. It's not as easy as it sounds. But
English is money.
Yeah.
It's more money than Spanish.
Yeah, we all know that.
Well, even a lot of mainland Chinese, English is more money than Spanish.
Now that I have no debt, I feel pretty free. That's why I feel very secure going back home.
Right.
See, I don't know how we were on this podcast, but to end part of this conversation of why I came to China and why I'm leaving China is because I've already made the connections.
For what?
Business with the Chinese.
Okay.
I mean, InterNations is one place I've taken to. I invited you a few times, right? Invited a few other people.
Some other people have a different interpretation of what InterNations is.
Yeah, but that, they could...
It's a hookup bar for old men.
Well, I'm not old.
No, I hope not, because if you're old, then what does that make me? I mean, I'm just as old, fuck. Almost.
Well, I understand people's opinions in Beijing,
Yeah,
but
don't mix the wines there, sir.
InterNations is all over the world. So my first one was actually in Los Angeles.
Right.
That I met
Yeah.
my Russian Ukrainian friend.
Yeah.
She is my platonic girlfriend, by the way. Sincerely. But she was the one that got
Is
me
there
to
such a
InterNations.
thing?
Well, with her, well, she's another story. Yeah.
But okay, so you've set the connections up. What sort of connections are you talking about here?
For future. You know what's interesting? The moment I told these same women, whether they're Chinese or foreigner, even a Russian, I'm going to go back to America to law school. They got all happy inside, and they said, "About time you're leaving this teaching industry." And I'm like, "Wow, I didn't know you had that strong opinion about me being a ESL teacher."
Do you think they're right though?
Yeah,
So
they're right.
actually, one of my questions about the
Yeah, they're right, because I told my mom the same thing about what the women said, and my mom kind of said the same thing. Like, yeah, about time you stop fucking around with this ESL shit.
Is it really fucking around? I mean,
Well-
I understand why you would say it. I mean,
Well, when I think about it, I reflected, like I published the book, and I got the idea. I know exactly what the problem is with this ESL system in China. It's kind of, we're going back to, they don't teach them how to use a dictionary. They don't help them extend their thoughts. I was working on PPTs back in Nanjing, even before I got to the BC, about how you say, "How are you doing today?" Oh, how are you doing, and what are you going to do today?
Yeah.
You're just extending the idea, right?
yeah.
I like ice cream. I like chocolate ice cream. I like chocolate ice cream with hot fudge. That's
like-
extending.
You don't have to say all that information. Just say chocolate ice cream.
But you know, some of our co-workers have a problem with that because, you know, they don't get it. I'm just being facetious. So
Are you really? Tell us how you really feel.
So when I wrote the book, I have a really good friend who's with our company, and I got the ideas from him. And he said, "Well, Chinese have two problems: they can't chunk and they can't speak in complex grammar."
Yeah. So chunking is putting all those words together, like in
One sound.
Right.
And there's chunking in Chinese.
Yes, but they don't know it exists.
Yeah, I know. But you know what's interesting? Mandarin Corner actually does. So when I was watching those videos last year, my pronunciation in Chinese got so much better because I was able to chunk like 3 or 4 words. And you know how like they teach you in isolated instances. Well, this word you go second tone, this word you go third. But you got to put it together as one chunk.
And the tones change, and they don't think that. There's no recognition of the change of tones within a spoken sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Even United States doesn't get it either, because like if you were to write a textbook or talk about anything, there's the standard textbook definition, like sentence that's
Right.
going on, but then there's also like how you actually say it, which is very different. Like, but yeah, Chinese do not get the whole ellipsis and the I call it collision. It's the collision of words, collision of sounds, like how they elide everything. They just make it to one sound without the tones. Like the tones don't matter. It matters more about context.
It's just how we quantify sounds. There's no such thing as tones. Anymore, there's no such thing as intonation.
And context.
Right.
Context.
Well, that's just it. The grammar is actually more important than the tones because the grammar structure.
It gives them a flag. They're like, oh, that's what he's talking about.
Right.
In this circumstance, these words are expected in this order, and this is what, this is where the adjective is and everything. Mandarin Chinese has not been studied to the point that English has. English language has been brutalized to the point that Latin was brutalized with its studies back in the years. Like, you had to write articles on the use of a comma to get published. Nowadays, you don't have to do it with English, but that's what it was back in Latin.
We have a friend that actually wrote a book on punctuation. I'm like, how bored are you to read a book on punctuation? It's 1,000 pages. I'm
That's
like,
why
oh
I
my
left the
God.
academia. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do that. It's not possible. My question to you would be, why didn't you do the Delta or anything like ESL Plus? Like, because you stayed ESL teacher level.
I have a response for that because
Good, because I had a question for
the
that.
same
Let's
friend.
state it more obviously.
The same older friend told me, like, don't waste your time getting a Delta.
Why not?
Well, his opinion is that it's archaic teaching style.
In China. China does not look at it. I've been told, I talked to a lot of Delta people before I started taking mine. They're like, if you're leaving China, do it. if you're going to stay in China, don't think it's going to get you anything more. They all said 100%.
No, I believe it, but I don't want to go live in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And,
I was like, let's go when Dubai, Oman,
so,
Qatar.
going back to,
Qatar?
we're talking about language or law?
Both.
Okay, so with language, with the Chinese, I went on this hiking trip with a friend you know, and she's the one that speaks B1 Spanish,
Right.
the European system. And we went on this hiking trip in February, and she goes, Octavio, she goes, you could keep learning Chinese and get better, but you'll never be accepted or allowed into our society. We're Asians, we're Chinese. You're just not, you're always going to be an outsider.
That's common knowledge.
Well, but she knew that I thought I saw myself different.
Ooh. Tisk on
But
you,
because
sir.
she lived in Spain and lived in South America,
Right.
she said, what separates America from the rest of the world, or the Americas, is that Americas are accepting of immigrants. She's Asian culture. She even said European culture is not very accepting of immigrants.
Depends where they come from.
Well, yeah, we could talk about that. But and so she goes, can you make more money in China today, or make more money in America? And I said, you know what? Make more money in America.
Wait a minute. So, like, it took you to go on a hike with some Chinese woman to open your eyes to that?
With her husband or her son, yeah.
Well, okay, to be fair, though, I mean, it's a good revelation that you're seeing it now and not staying here for another 10 years believing whatever facade that you wanted, right? But so for you, I mean, basically, it's like Mandarin Chinese doesn't hold the same key that it did back in 1995 when you read all this stuff.
Because
like, that's what brought you here.
Right, because going back to InterNations, and you know, people have their opinions about Beijing InterNations, but I met this other Chinese guy.
Not just Beijing InterNations.
Oh, yeah.
InterNations.
I've been to Shanghai, I've been to Tianjin, I've been to Los Angeles, and I'll keep going back in LA. But,
of course.
okay, I lost my
You're
train
of that
thought
age.
Here. I lost my chain of thought here. Oh.
In terms of Mandarin Chinese being the moneyed language or the business
I
language.
met this other guy through InterNations dinners.
Yeah.
Because there's different groups in InterNations. And he was actually born in Thailand but grew up in England. He's ethnic Chinese. That's what I call him, or international Chinese. And he said at Slow Boat one day to me earlier this year, he goes, you need to learn Chinese. He goes, they already have translators. That's what they're for. He goes, just pay them and they translate and they interpret for you. He goes, don't waste your time with that. And I thought that was very interesting because, you know, my friend, young American friend Zach, we met in Bangkok. And when I first met Zach 4 years ago in Bangkok, he couldn't speak a word of Chinese.
He's fluent?
Now,
Is the
4
HSK
years
5%
later,
spoken? He can't read, I thought.
4
I'm not
years
sure.
later, he told me this year he told me that at his Christmas party last year,
Yeah.
the day after we had the company Christmas party, he said that the deal with his wife was real simple, that you just need to learn Chinese to talk to my in-laws or my mom and dad. Since I don't have a girlfriend or a wife,
Why not?
why do I need to learn this language? Everyone who goes to InterNations already speaks at a high level of proficient English, and they're already connected, or they can do something.
Yeah. Oh,
they have
for
skills.
for the women that go there.
Yeah.
And the guys, I guess they'd be passable.
Well, the difference between Beijing and Shanghai is on this. Beijing's all government.
Yeah.
Whether you're Chinese, Arabic, or from the Spanish embassy, it's all government here. That's why the office is at Lima Chao, because it's next to the British American embassy.
Yeah.
But you go to Shanghai, it's all business. When you go to InterNations Shanghai, did I say that right? When you go to the Shanghai InterNations, these guys are decked out in their power suits and their skirts and their high heels. I mean, they look like.
Do the men wear skirts in Shanghai?
Well, you know what I
Are you
mean.
making a commentary?
The women are also dressed in their power suits as women do.
Right.
You don't see that here in Beijing. Beijing is more relaxed.
Yeah. I felt very relaxed when I went to that one.
Yeah,
one
of course. And I was the one who was all dressed up. And
You were.
And I was
like
sweating. Like, what the hell did I do?
It's July, dude. Why are you wearing a suit? Bad idea.
Well,
Was it July? I can't remember. It was a while ago.
Late July, early August. But
Yeah.
you met Qian out of it.
Yeah. No, she was on the podcast as well. She says, you have an hour. I'm like, all right. Okay, then. Then it's an hour that we will talk. And it was 59 minutes, that podcast.
Well,
Including an interruption because my connection broke going through Zoom and stuff like that, or whatever it was. But, yeah, With InterNations, do you? Because there has been criticism about what that company does. The criticism being, especially here in China, is that it's an old man hookup bar, basically. And young Chinese women can go to these places, meet older men, usually foreigners who speak English, pretend that they speak English for a little bit, and they can meet their sort of their sugar daddy. Is that an accurate representation of what InterNations is?
Well,
Because it wasn't my impression when I first went,
mm-hmm.
and before when I first heard of InterNations many years ago. But after going to it, I go, I think I see where the criticism stems from.
But it always comes from the women.
That criticism?
The criticism of InterNations always comes from Chinese women. And my same friend from Singapore, my same friend from Singapore, that I was told about earlier, we had lunch about a couple of months ago. And we met through InterNations dinners,
right,
which is not the actual main event. And she was criticizing two other Chinese women, like, well, why didn't so-and-so and so-and-so just get jobs at foreign companies? And it's like, because they don't have a Singaporean passport.
Right.
They're mainland Chinese citizens. They're at the bottom of the food chain where you're at the top, and you're passing judgment on them because they want to move up in status that you already have being from Singapore.
Yeah. And Singapore does, they
Oh, yeah. I think
status.
in a lot of ways they're better than American passports. And Taiwanese
Aren't
as well.
They?
America, Taiwan, and Singapore and England are like always in the top 5.
Hong Kong used to be a good passport.
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
Still is, I would say.
But I had to explain to her, it's like, you're coming from a place of privilege when
Yeah.
you're saying this. And I've heard these criticisms for a long time, but when I go to InterNations in Beijing, I'm thinking, like, I get it. They do want to marry someone to move up in status and get out of here because China's a very cruel country to women. You remember my friend Lexi? You met her at the InterNations. She ended up being a lesbian. She's trying to move to Canada.
As it happens, they all try to move to Canada.
But she said something interesting to me the end of last year when I moved back from Tongzhou. She goes, you got to understand something, Octavio. She goes, Chinese men who move to the West, they usually come back because whatever reasons. But when a Chinese woman moves to the West,
they're gone.
They're gone. And
Yes.
I go, why is that? She goes, because they do not want to come back to China.
I've heard this before.
Because the
It
way
might have
they
actually been
treat
from
women.
you, but I've heard this before.
Yeah, and when I looked at Lexi, I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense why they refuse to come back.
Which, let's flip the coin a little bit.
Sure.
Because we know several people who are leaving the country. Several lifers, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Gone. Like, in the last month and a half, literally, one a week, have repatriated back to the UK. Usually to the UK, actually. All the UK.
Mm-hmm.
WTF is going on? I mean, why all of a sudden that these guys have been here for so long? They got their Chinese wives, Chinese
Right.
kids. I mean, the grandparents will take care of everything. All kid-related anythings are taken care of. They don't have to be parents like the way that the Child and Family Services wants you to be a parent in the United States. Why are they leaving? What's going on? What do you see happening? Not maybe directly for what in their circumstances, but in general in those sorts of ideas.
Well, I don't know what you're going to edit or not, but
Nothing gets edited.
One of my couple of my closest Chinese friends have said that this country is just becoming North Korea, and even they,
Oh wow, that's a statement.
Even they want to get out of here.
That's a statement.
Yeah, and
But I've seen new faces here. I've seen some new people coming in.
that's true.
So it's not a complete desolate, wasteland. There's something here. There's opportunity. I would say there's actually, because there's another guy who was on this podcast a couple months ago, Donnie Fan, a comedian, and we were talking, American as well, fucking New Yorker, and he was talking about the opportunities in China, and it's kind of like one of these things where you're kind of like, there seems to be opportunity in China. There still is. Is there? You're going back to the States in like a week.
Yeah.
I mean, do you see more opportunity over there than compared to here?
Yes.
And with people that you've talked to?
And being an immigrant, I don't like the word expat anymore because we're not expats.
But we're not immigrants.
We are immigrants.
No, we're not. We can't have passports.
Then we're worse.
We're expats.
They were worse.
We're temporary.
We're below it.
We're temporary.
We're below immigrant
No,
status.
we're not immigrants. We
So,
can't be.
It was
There's
something.
no voting, no passports.
Yeah, it was something even when I lived in Miami, because I'm not from Miami, I'm not Cuban, I'm not Jewish. I couldn't get a job. That's why I had to go back so soon.
Really?
Because I'm from Los Angeles and I'm from Miami.
Is there that division in the States?
In Miami, I think there's a natural division in a lot of places. Maybe not so much Denver. Denver was a city okay, but we'll get to Denver later, but it's different from Miami. Because
How different is Denver,
Miami's dominated by the Cubans.
Yeah. Scarface taught me that.
Yeah, they joke around, call it Northern Havana. There's a reason for it. But they give the jobs to the Cubans first. They don't give it to outsiders.
Right.
Just because we have both Spanish last names doesn't mean they're giving me the job.
Or that you're American doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
So the cohesion that America sort of presents itself. We're American number one, but maybe not.
When I went back to Los Angeles, because that's my hometown, and this is partially why I'm going back to law school and going back to hometown, it's the same reason why I've talked to my friends from Beijing and Shanghai, how the Hukou, they're born and raised here. They have more opportunity in their cities. And all the ones that say in the UK and the USA simply say, it's like, hey, I could have a better life back in Beijing or Shanghai. Mm-hmm. Even though I have this American UK education, the reality is, because I have the Hukou and I'm from these cities, Beijing or Shanghai, even not so much Shenzhen yet, I have a better life. I just had dinner last night with a friend from Beijing, and she studied in New York, and she got it too. She's like, yeah, you're right. I came back to Beijing because I have a better life. Same reason why I'm going back to Los Angeles. When I was asked on a hiking trip, can you make more money here or back in America? It's not that I can make more money in America. It's that I can make more money in Los Angeles because that's where I'm from. And a lot of people, I don't boast about it too much, but, it's kind of weird how people get irritated, especially 2 years ago when I dropped all the way. I was wearing my power jackets and blah, blah, blah. But that's who I am. Being fat and wearing these piece of shit shirts, it's really not who I am.
On my podcast, thank you. Thank you for showing up on my podcast.
Well, I'm not taking my shirt off, but you get.
Please don't.
Yeah, I'm not.
I don't know if we have the bandwidth to accept the downloads for that.
I can see the drop back here. That got really embarrassed because that's when I put on the weight. Because I just said, I'm just tired of this place. I'm tired of the company.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. But the point being is that because the connections my mom and dad do have make 10 times, 20 times more money than I ever could in this country, because that's where I'm from. And that's where mom and dad, even my godparents, are established. My godparents were the ones that got me in steel and masonry inspection. It wasn't my mom and dad. It was my godparents.
Yeah.
But with the lesson I'm saying with Miami is because I'm not from Miami, I was still the outsider. Jeez. And we just kind of got lucky being in the CSL business in China, where they want to hire Americans and UK people.
English speakers from
those two accents. It's already run its course.
You think so?
Yeah.
Is it on?
Yeah. I really think it has run its course.
ESL going forward 5 years from now, when you go back to Los Angeles in a week, 2 weeks, would you recommend someone to come to China?
No.
Wow. Where? If they said ESL teaching?
If a young person says, I want to travel the world, it's like, yeah, get your CELTA. Okay. And maybe your teaching credentials, maybe. But don't go to China.
Where would you say?
Vietnam.
Yeah.
Thailand.
You sound like Denny.
Well, I wouldn't say Georgia.
But that's a vaccination visa avoidance scheme that he's got going on there.
Maybe Kuwait. I've met a lot of Brits that actually taught in Africa. And they said I actually had a pretty good time.
I want to go to Africa.
We all do, but
it's
expensive.
Parts of it, it's expensive. There's no money.
That's the interesting thing. Africa's expensive just to get to.
It is. Like, I remember, I think the last time I thought about going to Ghana, it was going to be Senegal and then Ghana. I want to do a West African...
Oh, Ghana. Yeah. I heard good things about Ghana.
Yes, very good things. $3,000 just for a one-way flight. Like, forget round trip. Round trip was like $7,000. It was like, the fuck?
It was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, it was. It was. And I'm sitting there going, there's no point in going. It's like, it's not even like if I went to Ukraine, it would cost $1,000, $2,000. But then it's like cultural connection. Ghana, music connection. I'm white. In a black man's land. I'm going, I don't know. I mean, It doesn't seem like it's a very good idea there, Stephen. Maybe you should rethink that. Go to China instead. So I did. But I would love to go to all, like, when I say Africa, like, literally, it's such a huge place.
Well, that's why I never went to Russia, Ukraine, because I was like, when I first thought about this whole teaching thing, ESO, actually the first countries that popped in my head were Ukraine, Russia, then Japan. But the reason why I never went, no, I didn't want to get beat up for being fucking dark.
Do you feel unsafe when you travel?
Only to those type of countries.
What type of countries are those?
Like Ukraine and Russia.
White, like pasty white people.
Well, yeah.
They are. I mean, they are pasty white. They're not. I mean, you have a tan to yourself.
Yeah, because maybe I watched too much videos at the time before YouTube, but I just want to feel safe.
Yeah.
And I never wanted to go to the Middle East for all the obvious reasons.
Even though you come from downtown Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. What? Downtown Los Angeles.
But it goes back to the
packing
point.
heat, and you're like, I don't want to get thugged.
It goes back to the point. You're not in your hometown. That's why they always say the home team usually wins the game, because you're in your hometown.
Well, maybe one. Have you ever felt unsafe while traveling?
In China, or actually the most unsafe I've ever felt traveling is actually in Mexico. Believe it or not.
I'm not surprised, but at the same time,
man,
okay,
so
Mexico. Why?
See, one thing that irritates me about people in China when they virtual single is like, do you know that more women are raped and murdered in Mexico? More reporters are murdered in Mexico than only two countries out before it is Syria and others. And you guys are trying to virtual single to me about all these things because you don't really give a fuck about these. You don't really give a fuck. You're just virtual singling.
But Mexico has a huge crime problem right now. Massive.
It's always had a huge crime problem.
But
that was the first time I ever saw dead bodies.
Right.
And I had to stop going to Mexico because it just got... What I saw in Mexico in 2006, 2007 was like, oh my God. So the president at the time was Felipe Calderon. And I saw with my own eyes where 10-year-old girls are selling meth on the openly in the streets of Mexico. Really? Yeah, it was that bad. It was horrible. And I didn't really agree with Felipe Calderon on anything because he was the guy that defeated the current president of Mexico, what they call Almo, Andres Lopez Obrador. But they say he cheated, but the point being is it got so bad in the early 2000s, late 2000s, that the cartel started hitting back hard against the government. And it was like, is there going to be a collapse of the Mexican government? It didn't happen. But it got that bad. And I kind of told my friends, it's like, the president didn't have a choice. He had to he had to control the flow of all the drugs in his country. Mm-hmm. Not going across the border to America, but in his country, because it's getting really bad. See, the thing is about the cartels in the 80s in Mexico, Mexicans didn't use drugs or cocaine. They distributed across the border, yes, but they weren't using it themselves.
Right.
And the government regulated it. And the things in the late 90s on the Arellano brothers, there's three of them, they're all dead now. They changed the entire game where it was no longer controlled by the government. It was basically the private sector took over, saying, now we're going to run this entire distribution system.
What do you mean private sector? Like Biofarm or the local mob?
They're not a part of the government.
Okay, so...
It's because it's kind of like Beijing and Shanghai. Shanghai, you go there for business, but you got to get the approval from Beijing to continue your business, whatever you're trading or selling.
Because at the federal level,
right?
Not the local municipal.
With the drug trade of Mexico,
right?
In the 70s and 80s, the government said, "Yeah, it's okay. You can distribute drugs to America."
Oh, okay, that's nice.
But in the late 90s, the Arellano brothers came in and said, "No, man, we're not asking for permission from you guys to call the government. We're just do it ourselves."
Yeah.
They changed the entire game.
Well, and
it's never been the same.
We were talking about the mob before.
Exactly.
That's kind of like how it is. It's like, well, you politicians are kind of like, we don't really... We agreed with you until it wasn't profitable. And then now you're just not making any sense. Because politicking... being a politician is lucrative. Being a mobster in the United States is not as lucrative. Because it's a much higher risk than it is being a politician.
And the return is not as much.
Not as much as it used to be.
Yeah,
Back in the good old days, we just whack a guy I have no idea. I mean, I don't come from that neighborhood at all. Very, very lucky with my fortune and everything. So, but have you done any other traveling other than like the States, Europe, China?
Well,
You haven't been to like you've been to Mexico. I mean, you've been Australia, South America.
nah, I never been to. Well, I never been to Canada.
Not surprised, American.
Well, no, because I had a DUI, so you guys have a strict law.
For whatever reason, I don't even know why we think we're so good about the DUIs. It doesn't even make sense to me, to tell you the truth.
I might be able to go today, but back then...
I know people who have DUIs, and it's just like, are you kidding me? I mean, it's mostly farmland.
It happened 5 years ago, and they still say, no, you got to go back home. I've had friends with DUIs in America that go to Canada, and at the airport, this is like 15 years ago, they stop. He's like, no, you can't come.
Not to
You got to go back.
Yeah.
And that was the technology back then.
Yeah.
And that's why I never went.
Do you want to travel elsewhere? Because you're
Of
going back to the
course,
States.
South America and Africa. My biggest regret living in this part of the world was never going to Japan.
What? You've never been to Japan?
I never got to go to Japan. In fact,
1995, took a Chinese and Japanese history class. You moved to China and you never went to Japan. Like, everybody in this country talks about how Japan and, like, the language and everything is, like, relations. And you've never been... Why not?
well,
not even COVID. You can't blame COVID.
Because I went to Thailand and Vietnam.
That's a different direction.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean...
I think some people would say, oh, that's what he was chasing.
Well, Vietnam, I went with a friend from... American friend from Michigan, and we decided that we're going to go have a good time in Vietnam.
Of course.
In 2000... National Holiday 2016.
Because Americans love Vietnam.
Of course. And we went to the museum, and we were pretty horrified.
Did you meet any expat American military personnel in Vietnam?
In Ho Chi Minh City, no. But like I said, we did go to the museum. And they put up a powerful argument. When you see
the American War.
The American War crimes.
War is the American War.
When you see the photos and the dead heads in the jar.
Did you see the babies?
That too.
Babies?
They did. Yeah, it's like, oh my God.
I think they took those out. They changed it. The American War Memorial, whatever it is called.
Mm-hmm.
I think they changed part of it because they received some backlash about what was going on or what was presented in that museum.
Wow, it's just horrific.
It was. I remember crying. I was like, holy fuck, I can't believe this actually happened. I also remember meeting an ex-military guy, and it was just, what he was saying is like, I can't believe what we did to this country. But it was the same sort of almost pseudo-belief in what his words were.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I don't think you actually believe what you're saying. You're saying it because you're in Vietnam. You're saying it because this nice, pretty young lady is with you today.
Oh, they're nice and pretty.
I don't think you actually believe that. I think if the United States, America, freedom called you again, you would answer. And that's like when I looked at some of the expat military people who were just bereaving, like, oh, I can't believe it. I don't think they were there because they were that sad. I think they were there because the money went long. Their pension went farther. Actually, and pre-pension guys, their money went farther in Vietnam. And I know I'm going to get fucking, talk back from this, but it's like, I don't know. What did you see? Tell me something.
I was only there for 4 or 5 days.
Well, I was there for 2 weeks. I mean, how long does someone go to Vietnam for, except when you're locked down?
Well, my friend's from Michigan. He's like 63 years old now, but 6 years ago.
Prime age.
Yeah, for
to
him.
Be in Vietnam.
He's on his third marriage. He's a hero of mine. He's the reason why. He's the reason why I know this still. You don't need to be in a hurry to get married, as long as you have assets.
At 63, third marriage, you're going to take that advice.
Oh yeah, she's born in 92.
My niece was born in, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't worry about your niece. I got a niece. I got a niece born in 97. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like.
Okay. You get my point. It's like you don't even need to hurry to get married and start a family.
Right.
But when him and I went to that museum in Ho Chi Minh City, it was like, wow. We were just like, man. It was
crazy.
It just left you speechless like, we really fucked this country up, didn't we?
That's what people say. I don't know. Do you actually believe that happened? Okay, sorry. I have to. because that's going to be missed.
Well,
yeah,
the name...
America did fuck the country up pretty badly, but that was the purpose, was to do it. They didn't go in there to make friends.
No, the napalm.
Everything. It was fucking brutal.
Agent Orange.
Everything.
Even Rambo talked about Agent Orange in the original First Blood.
Yeah.
For the first 5 minutes of the movie.
And then?
They addressed it. Because, when you ever watch...
That's what this guy was talking about, this ex-military. He's like, Agent Orange, you can't go into this one place. I'm like, then don't go.
Right. So if you ever watched First Blood, the original, Rambo's walking in somewhere in Oregon or Washington.
Yeah.
He's looking for an old military buddy. And he knocks on the door, and like, I think it's the sister or the wife or something tells him, like, oh no, he died like 5 years ago from Agent Orange.
Agent Orange, blame Agent Orange.
Yeah.
I know, I get it. I mean, it's brutal, it's terrible. I just sort of hear, I met a few people in, it was Cambodia and Vietnam. I was like, I don't believe you guys. I'm sorry, I just don't. Like, you can cry, you can put on that sad face for me in front of our audience. And the audience in Cambodia and Vietnam, and I'm going, I don't believe it. I think if the country called again, they'd go.
But what's interesting is, kind of going from the war part, the Vietnamese are actually very friendly to us as being American.
The Vietnamese are very friendly. One time I got in trouble was when I was like, Manchester United, why the fuck are you into that? He's like, the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, I actually don't know. I'm Canadian. I don't know what I just said. I don't know. And he got livid. He's like, what are you talking about? Man U's not good. I'm like, peace, brother. I'm Canadian, not American. I'll buy your counterfeit books, please.
But I've read articles, the reason why the Vietnamese don't hate Americans is because they only had to tolerate us for 30 years, where they have had to have tolerated this country for 2,000 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Well, so if you were to move to Vietnam, do you think you could survive? Do you think you could live?
Well, if I had moved 10 years ago, yes, but today, no, I'm ready to go home.
No. Well, so why though? Like, why?
Are
you that done? Actually, honestly, when you sent this thing to me, so the first one was, okay, wow, 27 years, Chinese. The other thing was like, is the dating scene that bad in China that you're fleeing this country?
No, I went out with 3 women last night. It's doing pretty good.
3? Mm-hmm. Maybe that's why you're still single, sir.
Well, that's the thing about...
And your colleagues will laugh at that.
You ever read books or reports about when you have too much choice?
So you're saying you have too much choice in China?
So, like, the author was using the example of shampoos. If you just have 3 brands, you're going to pick one. But when you have 50 brands of shampoo...
What?
It's like, how do you make a decision?
No, if you have one brand, you just pick it.
Well, that's McDonald's model.
Okay.
That's why I have the simple menu. But when you got all this poo-tang and pie, just by the dozens, it's like, how do you pick? Because you want them all, but you can't.
Why not?
Because I'm not a billionaire.
So why aren't you?
That's why I need to leave.
What? That doesn't make sense. You have to leave China. Wait a minute. Okay, so if you go back to Los Angeles, do you think you'll still date Chinese women or Asian women?
I'm not sure.
Or
I thought about that.
Yeah, it's a good question.
You know what?
I'm interested.
To be
your
fair,
reverse cultural shock.
To be fair, when I first got to China and Xinhuangdao, I was like, I'm not into these women. They got bad teeth. Their breath smells. They're peasants, and I just stuck with.
You didn't call them peasants, did you?
Of course, they're
wow.
Yeah, of course, they are from Tangshan and all those other little
peasants in the sense that they are from the smaller cities and villages.
They had bad water that destroyed their teeth. But when I first lived in Xinhuangdao for those 2 years, I only dated Russians and Italians. That's students.
Is that racist?
No, it's a preference.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, man. So my first girlfriend in China was actually Italian.
Yeah.
But before her, I was trying to chase the Russians.
How many girlfriends have you had in China?
Like
ballpark
seriously?
figure. Well, sure. Let's go through the numbers. Serious, semi-serious, and not serious.
Well, my first serious Chinese girlfriend was actually from Tianjin. That was like 4 years later.
And then, how long did that last?
4 or 5 months.
That's a serious relationship?
Well, she said the same thing.
Yeah, I believe it. She was
like,
Chinese?
Yeah, but she lived in Greece for 8 years. That's why I picked her. of all the Chinese women I met from Qinghuangdao to
Because if
Tianjin.
you didn't return her calls, she'd understand, or what?
No, because I thought she would understand Western or my part of the world because she had already lived there. The biggest problem is how with Chinese women is. This is going back to InterNations. And once you go to InterNations, these women have actually been to the West. They've actually studied or worked. But, like the one I was really in love with in Tianjin and another one from Tianjin, they never left Tianjin.
Yeah.
They never left China. And I realized the reason why you didn't even get close where I wanted it because they have this idea about the world as they see it as being Tianjin.
Yeah. They're city-centric.
Right.
Nationalist, I would almost say, in a way.
In a lot of ways, yeah, that's true.
Worse than the Americans in some ways. But, I mean, to be fair, you've left, they've learned English. Okay? It's like going back to the whole deep south Texas. If you were to rock on up small town Texas, and you're like, oh, I was in China, and someone said, oh, ni hao, ni zeme la, and you'd be like, the fuck are you speaking Chinese in the middle of butt-fuck nowhere? Could someone in Texas speak Mandarin Chinese as well as the girls in Tianjin speak English?
I'll flip it to you because the Chinese women I've met have actually studied and lived in the States.
Right.
When they go to Texas or Chicago or California, it's like, oh shit, I gotta speak Spanish.
Yeah.
And then the last 2 years, like our friend Chin and Jane are their representation of, if I were to still stay in China, it would have to be someone like them to date because they get American, the culture that you have to speak Spanish at some level.
Do you think that is reversed though with a lot of expat men? It's
possible.
Because some of the guys that I see who are married, I'm like, I ask them where else they've lived, and they go, nowhere else. Just China. I'm like,
that's right.
So, okay. Which, it's fine. There's something to be said about, being that type of person who's able to transplant yourself from your hometown to your new land, marry a woman, not have the billions of choices that you have, apparently, having WeChat messages constantly, sorry, can't get back to you, got to go, bye. Whatever.
Well, no, that's where the joke comes from in America. If you come from a small town, you marry your cousin because there's no other women.
Right.
It's total opposite of this country where you just have too much choice. And you come from the middle of the...
Why can't you make a choice?
Well, I'm not from middle America, but this is what a lot of Midwesterners told me.
Right.
That when you come to a town of 500, yeah, you're going to marry your cousin because it's the only option you have.
Okay, let's qualify that, though. By extension... Their family, but I mean that. So you're saying that there's so much choice.
Well, the Bible, he married his sister, didn't he?
All right. Well, we can continue this conversation if you like. Yeah.
Not about
the American audience on Spotify will appreciate this, I think. Righto. But
go ahead.
So, are you saying that there's too much choice? Do you think other people would have that same sort of problem? The new, I want to say the FOBs, the fresh off the boats arriving to China now. Do you think they'll have the same problem?
Well, the problem with the problem with the fresh off the boats,
not the SOBs, the FOBs.
The problem with the FOBs is they just never had women before, so they get all excited about the first one.
You think so?
You said this in Taiyu, and I remember you saying this. I'm not going to mention which manager, but you said it specifically. A lot of these guys fresh off the boat, they've never had so much women giving and being attracted to them that
you're just saying right now that you had so much attention. They get married to the
first woman that gives them time of day because they're always chasing and getting rejected by Western women.
I would say, yeah, I think that's
that's why they stay here.
I think it's a huge part of why people come here and who, especially in the last 10, 15 years.
I'll clarify. China wasn't my first choice. It was actually I wanted to go to South America first to find a wife.
Which part of South? Okay, to find a wife.
Yeah.
Not to make money, because China and Japan were the money makers.
Right.
Spanish was
Chile, Uruguay, Paraguay, Argentina.
You mean Paraguay and Uruguay?
Yeah, the way you guys say it in English. It was the find one there, then come to China already married. I never came to China to find a wife, even a girlfriend. And in fact, it took me a long time to even be attracted to these women.
What changed your mind?
Broke my leg.
They broke your leg.
I broke my leg running around the water park.
I that happens.
In
Sometimes.
2012.
What, the fucking water park scared you?
Well, I broke
did
my
it?
ankle, actually, to be more precise.
Jeez.
And this is how I met my Colombian friend, but everything about before that point when I broke my ankle changed. Like, you know what? Maybe this Chinese thing is not such a bad idea because they seem to take care of their family. Right. Something that American and British women don't do. They're just too, I'm into me. Mm-hmm. It's all about me. And I just can't deal with it. And I study feminism, by the way. I know exactly what's going on. But that's another conversation.
I studied feminism. Did you read a book or take a course?
Course.
How many?
With a lesbian.
Then that check boxes it. That.
No, I mean, we didn't like each other at first because I just had gotten on the military. But,
I wonder why.
Well, because
I know why.
I was the only.
I understand.
I was
the
only straight man in the class. The other guy was a homosexual, and the third guy was a bisexual. But I still thought he was just a beta male.
So he's three. There's three people. In the class.
Three. I was the only one, and I was the only, and just got out of the military. And anyways, man. And we didn't get off on the right foot for the first month and a half, but at the end of the term, like, she started to understand, like, oh yeah, she's a lesbian.
You started to understand that, or she started to understand
both. We both started to understand each other.
Okay, right.
The thing is about lesbian feminism is they smash two myths. Men are not the aggressors, because what has started to happen in lesbian relationships, there's still an aggressor that beats up the weaker, submissive one.
Right.
Both women, they smash that. Like, no, it's not true that men are these bad, evil dudes that, like to beat up women. It's not true at all. The second thing is, you appreciate this. They don't believe in alimony. Because it means you're still...
Why do I appreciate that?
Well, you're
I'm not married.
But as a man, it's because they argue very articulately, you're still dependent on a man. Therefore, you're not free.
Wow, wow. That's like...
That's what was my attraction to Natalie, but I could never get close to Natalie.
Right.
Because she just didn't know me until because, I brought back Natalie's water bottle from Church I Jong, and that's why she invited me to the party, but I can never get close to her in that way because she didn't understand who I was. Multicultural feminists are basically from Africa and South Asia, and they criticize the white liberal women, basically your Hillary Clintons, and your Whitmans, and your fucking Angela Merkel. I don't speak German, but
Angela Merkel.
But their argument, the multicultural feminist argument is, the reason why your kids are fucked up is because you're not home, and you want to wear the power suit to be like a man.
Right.
And that's why they're on drugs,
so they're
and
sort
they're
of
screw-ups.
They're fronting, I guess.
But they're not home with the kids, and that's a multicultural feminist argument. You're not home raising your kids.
I've heard this argument before. Like, you're being so feminist that you're not home with your children, rearing them to be the next responsible generation.
Right.
Where are the men in this? What are the fathers doing?
Well, don't get me started on French.
Well, where are the fathers doing that?
The French feminists
no
think
problem.
that...
You can finish that bottle.
Yeah, the French think that all men should be removed from society. That's basically where we are right now.
Not going to happen.
No, it's not.
Nature made two for a reason.
So
we can share the burden.
It's a long podcast. So when I go back home, I got to deal with this woke crap.
I ordered more.
That's fine. We could go to dinner too, but I'm just
well.
when I go back home to America, I had to deal with this woke crap and straighten it all. I was like,
do you agree with it?
No, fuck no.
Why not?
Because it's moronic. It's basically basically they're asking a man not to be a man.
No. They're allowing someone to be who they identify being.
Well, I saw that podcast with Jordan Peterson 4 years ago.
No idea what you're talking about.
The pronoun thing?
The idea being that if you are born biologically a man, but you identify being as a woman...
This conversation came up. So, now, this is what's interesting. And I got in trouble for it when I was a hasher. When I was a Beijing... When I was the Shanghai...
What do you mean by hasher?
Hash House Harriers. There's InterNations for business, and there's Hash House Harriers for runners and drinkers.
We can't do that on here, this podcast.
And I'll just use the Founding Fathers of the United States. They were transvestites. They wore heels, they wore skirts, and they wore wigs, and they wore makeup.
Yeah, that's one way. That's like Putin It's Putin's speech recently.
But
Very.
it was this, back in 1995.
No, the
I
first
met this
founding fathers were
I
a
met
little
this
bit
anthropologist
earlier
that said
than
something.
1995.
Going back with feminism. I met this anthropologist that said something very interesting.
Yeah.
He goes, women have always wanted to be like men. See, when the men in the 18th century were wearing the pumps, the skirts, and the wigs, and the white powder, women had lower status, so they didn't get to wear that. It wasn't until the late 19th century that women want to be like men. And as he explained to me, that's when women started wearing makeup and started wearing the pumps.
Because they were jealous of the men wearing the wigs
They
and the
wanted
pumps.
to be
and
like
makeup.
the men, yes.
So you're saying women just want to be like men?
Well, that was their argument. I'm not saying that per se, but it's very interesting.
You tell me. I don't. You just brought the argument up.
No, I'm just presenting it. I didn't say I agree with it, but it's very fascinating because...
Which side do you agree with?
What do I agree with? Well, I do like a woman that takes a shower, but she doesn't need to always put makeup on. In fact, she doesn't need to put a dress on. It's just...
That's just... Well, I'm not even sure if it's appropriate. Of
But-
course she doesn't have to put a dress on if that's what you're going for.
I just don't like the tattoos.
Which tattoos?
It just people in general getting all these freaking tattoos.
Oh, so you don't have any tattoos?
No, I have no tattoos at all.
But because you can't, because you get identified by them.
Well, that was the idea at first, but
Snap.
when I have kids, I'll get a tattoo or two of my kids. But I don't.
When will you have kids?
With both men and women today, in the last 10 years, I noticed that they just get tattoos all over their bodies. I'm like, this is
In the States, they do. In China, they're getting tattoos, but they
more
usually
often,
have...
yeah.
It's a sign of money.
Is that what it is?
One. But two, I actually wonder, because, I mean, I don't really... I don't ask them. It's just never, because it's so... It's like having U.S. dollars. You don't really question, like, where'd you get that money from? It's, you got a tattoo, great, you have a tattoo. But when they have a tattoo, like, do you ever ask what it means? Like, do they...
No,
like,
you
you just go with it, right?
just don't really care.
It's like the Americans, they have all these tattoos and they're willing to point out, well, this tattoo means this, that tattoo means this means that, and that, everything. And you're going...
And this all happened when I left America. I come back every year. I see more and more young people with tattoos.
Okay, but you haven't been back in 3-4 years already.
It's been more than 3, yeah.
So what do you think is going to happen?
I have no idea.
Yeah? Do you think you're going to be okay? Or is it like 1 week and you're like, fuck, take me back to China. I need those noodles.
You're not the first person to say that.
Like,
You're not the
I'm
first
actually
person to say
concerned about
that.
you, dude, because you, again, 2 years ago, you were one of these guys who's like, I'm going to learn Chinese. I gave you my Chinese teacher, Margaret, fantastic teacher, helped me a lot, and you're like, I'm doing this Chinese thing, I'm going to get it, and now you're leaving, you're taking off. Do you think you just needed a break from the country?
It was the lockdowns.
You are one of them who got locked down.
I got locked down more times than you.
On travel, on a business trip. You got shut down in a hotel. How was that?
They broke us.
Sorry. That's funny. Wait, who?
Well, I don't want to say their names, but I mean, the 3rd week I had my nervous breakdown. The 4th week, the other guy had his nervous
You
breakdown.
can't have a nervous
And
breakdown.
the 5th week, the other guy had his nervous breakdown.
Octavio doesn't do
and
nervous...
we're all the same age.
No way.
The only difference is I'm not married. They are.
Right.
And they have children, and it devastated them.
Do you think that sort of saved you? Well, but you all got
No, I think it actually saved them.
Yeah.
I just gave up by the 4th week. I'd just rather just die. It was prison. I mean, that's what it, by definition.
But you didn't suicide.
By definition, it was a prison. I mean, the entire city was literally shut down. They wouldn't even let me go visit friends or people that I knew in Shurjaijuan. They wouldn't even.
No, that was the idea.
They were monitoring us all the time about how far we can walk,
right,
go around. It's like this is a fucking prison.
Yeah. But you could go to the shop outside, right?
Everything was shut except the liquor store, of course.
And how much did you start drinking at that point?
Not too much. And that's when I let my hair go.
What did you drink? How much did you drink?
About 5-6 bottles of Baijiu a day.
That's what size of the Baijiu bottles?
About the size of this bottle. What,
That's
300 milliliters? 500.
500. So you're drinking 2.5 liters of Baijiu.
Yeah, I don't mess around with beer, man. If you're going to drink, drink.
40% alcohol.
If I drink beer, it's because I'm on a light night.
What type of Baijiu? Not the Argoto green bottles.
No,
stuff.
the cheap stuff.
So you're doing proper alcoholism,
Oh yeah, of course.
gutter, Los Angeles.
I don't hide it either.
I see
That's
that.
why if I stay in my apartment, I'm drinking. I want to be around you
Why?
because I don't want you to see me drinking.
Right. No, I appreciate that. And people don't like when you say that. People are like, "Well, you're an alcoholic." I'm like, I don't. But I've stopped going out drinking because I don't want to be enabled.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is a special occasion. These bottles, like this is not typical at all.
I know it sounds funny, but when I hang out with my Scottish and Irish friends, that's actually when I drink less.
Because you're like, well, you guys are drinking so much.
Because I'm around people.
Yeah.
Yeah, the isolation, and I know the last guest, the tall dude, low voice, he just coped with it differently. But the isolation, man, really gets to you.
Yeah. But you were there for like 6 weeks. It was a long time. You guys got fucked.
And they made us wait another 2 weeks if we can go back to the office. So we lost basically 2 months of pay.
Yeah. And it's terrible because in our system, you were getting paid, they call it 60 days in arrears, which is stupid. You're getting paid late. The work that you do on the 1st of February doesn't get paid to the end of March.
Correct.
And you're like, this is balls. This is terrible.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the system. We agreed to it. Sometimes it works to our advantage. Sometimes, a lot of times it doesn't.
And it was unforgivable because they knew better. But like I said, they told me to stand down.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's take a break. And then that way we can reconvene. So, and we've got the new delivery and everything. Thank goodness, or else what would we do with that? Which one is that? You got the white bottle going.
They're all white.
That's what she is. Can you even say that anymore?
Say what? White?
That's what she said.
I haven't heard that in a while.
Because no one says it except me. I know this. Another guy told me, he's like, Stephen, you don't need to say that anymore. It's old. You're an old man by saying it.
So it's archaic.
And old man. It's not just archaic, it's old man-ish. They didn't sponsor this episode. We'll turn it sideways.
Always had a problem with men trying to correct you how you speak. If you want to say...
Men correcting me or men correcting in general?
In general.
Okay.
It's like, it's
why
how you speak.
Do you think that's okay, though?
If you want to say pussy whip, that's like from the 1950s.
How would you correct a guy that you don't know, or that you do know? Like, dude...
I wouldn't.
Chill the fuck out.
I wouldn't correct him.
No?
That's who he is. That's how he grew up. Now we're going back to linguistics. So pussy whip was...
Is pussy...
No, it was used differently in America.
Yeah.
But George Carlin made a great point. It's like... Pussy whip, does anybody know what that means?
Yeah.
It means that you're pussy whipped. But the way you use it in the 1990s is a lot different than you use it in the 1950s. But I would never correct someone on it. It's like, oh, you come from a different generation.
Yeah.
This is how you use words, you know, the etymology of words.
Yeah.
And the people who correct other people about how we don't say that anymore, I think that's what kind of led to the whole, I don't know, woke thing.
You think so? Yeah.
Well, because I got corrected many times by using the word dyke. I used the word all the time in the 80s and 90s.
Still use it.
Yeah, of course.
I wouldn't use it with like actual people who have actual jobs, but you know, fellow expat males.
But you're supposed to say, you're supposed to say a lesbian or a woman who likes women, because the softer language is like, no, dyke is pretty direct and to the point.
Yeah, well, no, pre 5 bottles of wine, yes.
Yeah, George Carlin had a great point about post-traumatic stress in World War One. What's called shell shock. Soldiers come home, they kill a bunch of people, they're in shock, shell shock, and then by the time they got World War II, it's called battle fatigue, more syllables, because it's softer language. And if so, his point was, if you think
2 different things,
he was saying, if you could change the language, you make people believe you could change the condition.
Shell shocked is when something blew up, a shell, you got shelled, and you're sitting there going, the fuck just happened? That's shell shocked on the battlefield, not going back to America.
It's also direct language. It's like explaining exactly what it is. Because they were still shell shocked in World War II. And then by the time they got to Korean and Vietnam War, they said, oh, post-traumatic stress.
That's because they went back to the States and they're like, I have seen so many people die and do stupid things and terrible things.
They changed the language from shell shock to battle fatigue to post-traumatic stress The condition's the same, but we think because we changed the language or the rhetoric.
Oh, I see what you mean. Shell shock, so to me, implies like on the battlefield.
Yeah.
Someone's.
And that's exactly where it came from.
But they're like, I can't move because something just blew up beside me. Whereas post-traumatic PTSD, which United States, is there a problem with the United States military with the aftercare of veterans? Like, because the United States boasts the most powerful military in the world. Mm-hmm. Going back to the whole Hollywood argument of like, your movie's not good enough, but you can find a derivative. The United States military and the personnel can do that. Private military contractors, different outlets. Does the U.S. care or not?
Well, it depends who you ask, but
you
since
give
you're
me
asking
your
me, what I have learned and experienced that one of the hardest things about leaving the company is that I do get full medical coverage, and I took advantage of it this year for mental health. Believe it or not, it was actually for mental health.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, most people
shocked.
Yeah, you should be. Where other friends used it for having a broken leg or something, and
physiotherapy. I use
physical therapy, and they had to actually pay out of their own pocket.
Yeah.
But what we have at the company is called HMO, which is totally American.
Health, mental.
It's the middleman between
Okay.
your doctor and basically the insurance company.
Yeah.
That's why America pushes. That's why a lot of Americans want a single payer healthcare. That's basically medical.
So what is this? Tell me.
Single payer healthcare is not like Canadian where you have socialized medicine.
Yeah, they take your taxes anyway.
Yeah, but single payer healthcare means everybody pays into it, and it's
Socialized.
dispersed.
Right, socialized.
To some extent, but the actual hospitals are not socialized.
Right.
They just get the money from the single payer insurance company.
As long as the billing has gone through. So if you show up, the hospital bills as you, and they get the money. They don't get the money anyway.
Something to that effect, yes. So, of course, we're getting a little sidetracked here. What were we talking about? Not socialized medicine.
Socialized healthcare, basically.
Healthcare.
Taking advantage of the health benefits.
Well, the hardest part about leaving the company was the fact that it's like, well, I'm not going to have medical insurance.
What are you going to do back in the States?
Well,
I mean, it is a...
So to answer your question about the VA coverage or Veteran Affairs, is I've used their services before. I had a cyst removed in 2008. It's just I had to make an appointment that took 3 weeks later to get in.
Same in Canada.
I've heard that.
Whereas here in China, it's like you have an appointment, you private health care, because we don't do the public system.
Right.
Have you been to a public Chinese hospital? You don't want to go there.
In Qinghuangdao once or twice, yes.
Yeah, and then you stopped, and you're like, no.
Well, yeah, the first time I ever broke my...
What are you breaking so many bones for?
It all happened in China.
What are you doing?
I live in China.
Snap. So then, but you were part of the Air Force, military.
Right, so I had to talk to my godparents and my mom. It's like, they said, look, you have medical insurance because you're in the military. Don't worry about it.
Does it still cover you now?
Oh, it covers you until the day you die.
What?
There's just different levels.
What level are you now?
Well, I did my first tour, but no combat.
Right.
And the guys who do combat, they get better coverage.
Are you jealous?
No, I didn't want to see combat. Who wants to see
Why not?
combat? Do you really want to see combat?
The ideal is that I would live. The reality is, I'd probably get shot first.
Yeah, I thought I'd be Maverick too. That's why I joined the Air Force. But
Not even Maverick. Fucking, I'd be the oh yeah, gung ho. No, I'm not lying.
Did you see Top Gun 2?
No, I haven't. But
should.
even with the war in Ukraine right now, like a lot of the sons of and daughters of immigrants and expats and whatever word you want to use, who of them would go pick up a gun to fight for the homeland? Second generation, third generation. No one's doing that.
No one's doing that.
Right. No, even in the United States, not going to happen.
That's exactly it.
It's like, because it's like they don't, first of all, educated, they're going, there's other ways that we can deal with this. The problem is that Russia keeps bombing the fuck out of the cities. Russia's dealing it in their manner, and the West is kind of going, well, but we really shouldn't be doing that. The guns are winning the battle at the moment, right? Like that's what's happening. The bombs are blowing. The bombs are much more real than a bunch of academic pros, right? So that being the case, it's like it'd be great to sort of say like, yeah, I would survive, and I've a lot of American expats the same way, very gung ho. A lot of people are very. Mike Tyson said it. Everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face. Right. Beautiful. When you hear that, you're like, that's true. I mean, you can be all BJJ, MMA, fucking you can drink 17 bottles of whatever, but then something happens, real, and you're like, and it just reality changes. I have to call myself out on that. Say I don't know if I could do it. There's
nothing wrong with that.
I couldn't do it. And this is like I know the younger generation of my own family. There's at least 2 guys that I know have joined the military, and Canadian. It breaks my heart because I go, they're signing up for a contract that basically puts their life on the line. It's not like being an English teacher. No one dies if you fail a test. No one dies if you fail a Chinese test. It doesn't matter.
Too much baijiu, but
if you're backpacking, it doesn't. No one cares. You're culturing, whatever. But you sign up to the military. It's like at some point you could be called in for for your country, for whatever cause that it decides.
Mm-hmm.
That for the people that voted in the government. And you could be sent in, and you could be in that situation where the APC rolls over that mine, and you're done. You're a star. You're a picture on a tombstone. You're fucking done. Kudos to the men and women who've done it. Holy fuck to the people who are doing it now. And why the fuck are we letting things like that continue? But how could we even change it?
You can't.
You think so? You think war can't be solved?
No.
Why not?
It's in our nature.
Nah.
I think this anthropologist said it best. The reason why you have war is because you have an abundance of resources, food, water.
So they have too much of all the good stuff.
And it's true in any society, whether it be the Native Americans of America or in the Middle East with the Tigris Euphrates. And he was making this argument on one of the shows 3 years ago that you're always going to have wars because they're fighting over who controls
those things.
Right. And that's never going to stop.
And
unless you have a scarcity of it, but because you have an abundance of resources, you're not going to stop wars.
Yeah, and the scarcity, I think, also contributes to the war because people are sitting there going, well, but I have nothing, you have everything, I'm going to try to get something for me or the people that I represent, sort of thing. And it does feed into the whole argument of like weaker to stronger. You see someone with a lot, the little guy is going to try to take something, and the guy who has a lot or the girl who has a lot, they're going to try to go like, well, why can't we just incorporate your system into our system, sort of thing? It would be better for everybody, wouldn't it?
I can't speak for other societies, but when I read this book called Debt, the First 5,000 Years by David Garber, he was actually an anthropologist, but he actually was best friends with Steve Keen, the economist from Australia. But he says something interesting about Native American society, that instead of going to war and killing each other, they would negotiate if you go to my apartment and I go to your apartment, I say I want that camera, that recorder, that monitor, but you go to my apartment and say I want those weights, and I want your camera.
What type of camera?
Well, it doesn't matter.
It does. I'll trade you that camera for the one that's in your apartment if it's better than that one.
But his point was that the Native Americans understood treaties.
Right.
That it was just better to negotiate than kill each other because, you're next to kin, you got blood. And the Native American, not all, but a lot of Native Americans, like the Longhorns, it'd be like, advanced TP, like a mansion. But they understood that it was better just to negotiate and have treaties than just kill each other where there's just no end to it. Because eventually they just grew up. And I think what we're happening here with your part of the world, they haven't really figured that out yet.
What do you mean my part of the world? I'm curious.
Where your ancestors are from.
Canada or Ukraine?
Ukraine.
Okay, I see what you mean. That's a long-standing battle that has Putin's speech about the indigenous North Americans, very different. It's a skewed history. His representation is very skewed. compared to the North American. Now, the Canadian and United States versions or methodologies of interacting with the Native Americans, I would say is very different. Goes back to the treaties and who did the treaties better. Well,
you could look at New Zealand, the Maori and the British Army.
Yeah.
That was what's the treaty called again? The treaty.
I hate to say that I'm a white Canadian. I don't know, but that's pretty much. I will call myself out and say I don't know much about those.
What was interesting about
there.
that treaty with the Maori, they superseded Parliament, went straight to the royals to sign that treaty.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes you wonder, like, who's really running England? Is it the royals or is it Parliament?
Oh.
And what's interesting,
both.
What I've also read, that MI6 actually works directly for the royal family. They don't work for Parliament.
Show me the paperwork of any sort of intelligence agency that works for any one person.
The books are back in
Go
America.
ahead.
But
CIA, FBI, fucking Mossad.
It was very interesting.
You get into the argument of the intelligence agencies, you're never going to win it. It's always like this article, that article, this source, that source.
That source,
it's just make it into a movie, and that way
everybody... I think they have.
Of course, great.
The Good Shepherd.
Because at least people can watch it and understand what's going on.
And James Bond.
James Bond's MI6. I mean, at least
the
it's entertaining.
Yeah, it is.
Right? But like this whole idea going back.
But Ian Fleming was actually an MI6 agent. That was
sure, whatever. Pick an intelligence agency that we was part of. Whatever. It doesn't matter. I don't know.
So going back to...
I want to ask you about Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
I'm sorry?
I want to ask you about the Rich Dad, Poor Dad books. Because we were talking a lot about business and not just the...
Well, it was interesting. Okay, going back to 2005. Getting away from...
Well, forget the date, but you read this book, The Creature of Jekyll Island. That's the gold standard.
So
book,
the person that recommended the book is the very same guy that told me in 2005 that Russia holds all the cards with the resources of oil and the marines.
Back then. Nowadays, they didn't realize the. Okay, we're getting back in the U.S. dollar. Weaponization.
Yeah, but he was talking about gold and how the U.S. economy has gone down since the 1950s.
That's a long time to be going down. Very soft landing, isn't it?
It's been 15 years since I've seen him. But he told me to read the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, and how central banking works.
I've never read it. I've heard about it.
Yeah.
I know about it. I tried to read a page of it. I'm like, this is too boring. And it has nothing to do with...
Too convoluted.
It has nothing to do with trading itself.
No, of course not.
It's like...
It's not that type of book.
It's like being on the battlefield. Do we talk about shooting each other, or does one of us shoot each other? Bang! Done. That's what it is. Creature of Jekyll Island is exactly... It's a theoretical discussion of what it could be, but isn't. What was your impression?
Well, when you recommend the book and I read it at first, I go, am I reading like a science fiction book or is this real?
And why was it science fiction?
Because it was just way out there.
Yeah.
About how central banking works. But when the market crashed in 2008, 2009, and the market actually started crashing in 2007 with Lehman Brothers. And I started thinking, like, you know what, this guy might actually be right about what I was saying in the book. Because the author himself is actually American constitutionalist, meaning that he's...
what the fuck does that mean?
Well, he means that you follow the rules to the T.
Okay.
You don't cheat on your wife. You don't steal from your neighbor.
I thought...
But every man cheats on his wife.
Right. Yeah.
And every man tries to think, how can I steal from my neighbor?
Oh, jeez. Okay, yeah.
And that's just human nature. But
or American nature.
But Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, was doing it at the same time.
That was a big one. I remember when that...
Oh, the original was huge.
And I actually am a little bit disappointed with how he
ended it?
Grew as a result, because he made it into a brand. And I think that sort of betrayed...
Go ahead.
...the whole idea of what the Rich Dad Poor Dad methodology was. It's like you create an asset, and then he created a brand asset that took advantage of the whole branding scenario that was happening in the YouTubification, the social mediafication of branding, late 2000s, which is Rich Dad Poor Dad came out late 90s, early 2000s.
More or less, yeah.
And then, but it went into branding, and it took advantage of the social media viral marketing that was starting to happen at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Just because something, actually, unless the book is written by Kiyosaki himself and has Rich Dad Poor Dad or one of like variations of the Rich Dad Poor Dad idea, not a derivative, the idea of the original book, which is real estate and assets and creating a business rather than working for the man, then I don't want to read it. Like, I see that stamp, I go, that's a cheesy. The guy, the person who has branded his book, his title, his book title with the Rich Dad brand, I don't believe anymore.
Yeah, that's what happened when I read the ABCs of Real Estate Investment for the fifth time.
Lame.
2 years ago. I read it 3 times before I was like, oh yeah, the formula works. But when I read it 2 years ago again at the hotel at it was G9.
Not the other lockdown hotel.
No. But I actually caught the mistakes for the first time. I was actually paying attention mathematically. And it's like, this guy, he's not BSing. He just didn't put the effort into like explaining
the insides of those
numbers, which he didn't do.
Yeah.
And it was kind of embarrassing because one of our friends called me out on it when I wrote the PPT.
What number?
Well, no, he didn't. He was fudging the math.
What, in what way?
It was like, if you buy this at this price, you get a cash on cash return at 10% if you do this and put down on this.
Which is true, but
true theoretically, but when he put his actual figures, it had come out to that because he left that part out, and that's when I caught on to it.
So, what changed?
He didn't put the actual figures in to even BS a 10% on return.
Right.
He just made it look like it was a 10%. And I finally, because, I have a problem with math sometimes.
We all do.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to money.
Yeah,
money is emotion.
I agree with that. But it was in Wuhan when I discovered, like, this guy, the ABC's Religious Investments, like, he's missing a few pieces here. It's like taking a spark plug or two out of your engine when you have a V8. It's firing, but it's not firing at full capacity.
Right.
And that's what he did. And I finally caught after reading the fourth time. And then I realized that Robert
this is
Kiyosaki,
what, 15 years later, 3 times you read the book.
Yeah.
Wow, that's terrible, sir.
Yeah.
You have to catch on quicker.
I'm not married. But that's when I realized that Robert Kiyosaki is just rubber stamping these other guys to write on his behalf.
Branding. Yeah, it's terrible.
Branding, yeah.
Kiyosaki's original book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, fantastic.
Yeah, it was.
The Eighth Habit, I think, was also another one.
Cash Flow Quadrant.
Yeah, he has 3 solid books, but all the other branded ones are fucking shit. Like, absolutely. Like, just brand marketing trying to take advantage of the situation.
Right.
Garbage. I can't trust them. If it was like big names, because I have a few finance books here,
I see that.
but if it was them, actually, if they went to that brand, I'd be like, I don't know if I trust you anymore. I think you're just selling what you already know.
And I've heard a lot of people say that who are in the business of investment, especially real estate. They say, yeah, he talks a good game, but he never gives you specifics what you need to do.
Nah, it's
you gotta learn that on your own.
It's like no, it's horrible. No, it's a good. It's an eye-opening, mind-opening book. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I actually encourage a lot of people, especially since it's available in Chinese as well.
Right.
I encourage people to read it because it exposes you to that methodology, that idea, that system of thinking that goes from you are not just a slave. You're not just a slave. You're not beholden to your company. You're not beholden to one job. You're not going to be, because your company, if it's a good company, will take advantage of you to make the company better, which is what the idea was, to have a company and hire other people. You would do the same thing if you were running a company.
And I think, going back to the original point, why did I come to China? Because I read that book and a few others books, Who Took My Money, Cash Flow Quadrant, and I said, he made the argument that convinced me, like, if he can make it here, he can make it anywhere.
Do you think that's true, though? Did you make it in China?
To some extent, I thought I did.
Where does that extent stop?
COVID policies.
Okay.
Um,
You're not alone in that one.
no, I'm not. And they made it very clear that, that's why I went on the hiking trip, going back to the hiking trip. It's like, no, man, you need to go back to America because you're not going to make it here.
So the last couple of years that sort of
Yeah, the rules
changed.
have changed.
Yeah.
They have changed. And,
In what way do you think? Going forward.
I didn't talk about it, but when I published that book, the publisher's like, well, you're on your own and marketing it and selling it on your own.
Yeah.
And when I met the lawyer, through Hello Talk, the one you recommended back in June, and I saw her the other day. And it's like, I go, how did you know about my book? I go, I didn't sell it to you. And she goes, I found it on Jingdong. And I was like, what? They go, found what on Jingdong? She goes, your book.
Are you being pirated?
That's where I'm going with it.
You've made it! Congratulations!
And
You're getting pirated!
And she goes, no. She goes, I bought it on Jingdong. And blah, 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 blah. But I was like, wait a minute. My publisher told me that I need to market on my own and create my own platform.
Yeah.
And I go, can I sue this guy?
No.
And she goes, well, it's not really worth it, because she goes, well, you haven't sold enough books to make it worth it. I'm like, well, wait a minute, it's not the point. He sold some books and I'm not getting paid royalties. Even his 50 pennies on the quai, I'm not getting paid for this. And if he had told me, I could have worked to sell the book. And everyone knows who's read the book, has actually analyzed and read the book, knows it's a great book. Yeah, it's got some grammatical problems. That's another story, but...
So that's not a great book then, sir.
Nah. What the Chinese don't know any difference. But the point being...
Maybe they do!
The point being is that... and she's an intellectual property rights lawyer. Because I had lunch with her 2 days ago. Over there off line 14 and line 6, where they meet. In that area.
What's the name? I don't know.
I don't know.
Far out there place.
Taijing Lu?
Sure.
Yeah, that one. But she's like, basically, what I've come to understand that, and many Americans have told me this, that you're building their wealth. You're not building your own, and they don't see you as an equal partner. In fact, the same friend from Michigan I went to Vietnam with said something interesting, and this is why he was pro-Trump. And I understand why he was pro-Trump at the time, where I wasn't. It took me a long time to understand what Trump was talking about. That this is a closed economy and only benefits Chinese. If foreign companies want to do business in China, they have to hook up and do a co-op or joint venture.
I'm your Huckleberry. Okay, so let me provide the counter to that. Okay, if it's only for Chinese, then why is we as foreigners are making money that can be exported in foreign currencies?
Are foreigners really making money?
Aren't we?
Who?
We. Us. English teachers.
How many people are actually where the company we are? Because most teachers don't make that much money.
Doesn't matter. We're still...
No, because you and I are...
We are making money. And it's benefiting us. And we're exporting that money.
You and I are cream of the crop. That's what
I would not say that.
I would.
I am not cream of the crop.
I would.
I'm a horrible English teacher. I will state that for the record.
I agree. You're horrible. But we're still the cream of the crop.
You're not supposed to say that. You're supposed to say, no, Stephen, you're fantastic.
No, you're not. You're bad. But we are...
Well, then, fuck you.
We are... I mean, we're the cream of the crop. And we're only like 200 at most. In fact, whatever the number is now, definitely has...
Well, the number of ESL professionals, that's quotations,
but
has diminished.
What I'm getting at is, when he was explaining this to me in Shenzhen, he goes, when you want to do business in America, it's an open economy.
Anyone can be anything, can make anything. And can make a market for that thing and make money off of it.
Yeah. Can't do that in China. It's a closed economy.
In one way it is. Number two, I do go back to the whole idea that if you're a foreigner, you can come to China. If you're in the industry that is making money, they will pay you.
Correct.
For that. Okay.
But
but we were.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you
are, I was.
But you're leaving. That was your choice. Okay. So, I mean, legalistically speaking, politically speaking, that was your choice to leave. And that was, a lot of people chose to leave. And my big thing has been like, I mean, even with a lot of the young Chinese kids, 20-year-olds, early 30s, we meet, and I kind of go, why aren't you into the AI, robotics, and engineering and stuff like that? And there's a couple of reasons. Number one, no problem. You can finish that bottle too.
Yeah, no problem.
You can not only can they get the degrees, but the problem is finding a job, but also the automation has cannibalized itself.
Yeah.
That it is doing a lot more of its own job, a lot more of its own work. So
Heard
the
about
kids with their AI degrees and engineering degrees aren't getting the work because they're not needed for any number of reasons. Budget, AI has taken over it. Someone else can do it cheaper overseas, outsourcing and stuff like that.
Well, I think that was Andrew Yang's argument when he ran for president in the Democratic primaries, which I have no idea why he did. But I've heard this for 20 years. And this is what, the interesting thing is, this is what actually ended slavery in America, was the advancement of technology. Technology is the enemy of capitalism. I'm just quoting Andrew Yang.
No. I disagree.
You could.
I do.
But you're replacing physical labor of humans with AI, robots, or machines.
And those people can retool and upskill.
To what? Manage the machines and the AI?
No, to code them.
Yeah. But
snap.
You don't need
done.
You only need 3 people as opposed to 10 people.
But you could
so what do you do with those
extra
bot. What do you do with those extra 7 people who need a job? And that's why Andrew Yang was arguing for universal health care or universal income.
To help the people who don't want to upskill.
In fact, it's your country that's experimenting with universal income.
They and I have a lot of issues with this.
I imagine you do.
It just raises the zero number. That's all it does. Now,
raises a zero number.
Because
how do you raise zero?
Well, because zero is here, you have nothing.
Uh-huh.
But now you have $10,000, but you're still spending it on the same stuff. But your life hasn't improved because your life hasn't improved. Like materialistically, your life hasn't changed. You're just not going for government handouts, even though the government gave you $10,000. It's still your choice on how to spend that $10,000.
How is that any different with your company handing you out money you really didn't earn?
What do you mean? In what way?
Like the job we do,
Any
monkey can do.
And actually, not anyone can. Have you tried to program a bot to do an interview in which you ask the same questions over and over again with the intonation? If someone has a problem with what you just said, technical or otherwise, it's not that easy. They can't replace a human voice responding to a human issue.
Yeah, but TOEFL does it.
TOEFL's a different example.
But they do it.
It's a different, like the whole standardized ESL testing industry is ripe for a change.
Oh,
I suspect China will overturn it and take control of it, which I also kind of wonder if maybe that's why they took Hong Kong. They reestablished they're sort of like the flag is in Hong Kong, okay? And if Hong Kong becomes sort of an English-speaking hub...
I thought it already was.
It is. But imagine, like, if there was Chinese English, much as there is South African, or British, or American, or Canadian, Australian. If that happens, then all of a sudden 1.2 billion people become not just Mandarin speakers, they become bilingual. Overnight.
Bilingual.
They're done. They speak both languages by virtue that Hong Kong or some province or territory in mainland, under Chinese jurisdiction, has fluency in both languages. I see that happening. I really do. But in terms of like the whole like any monkey can do it, not true. No, because I've tried to program it. I've tried to program the bots.
Well, I guess when I said monkey, it meant any teacher.
I don't think so.
Really?
It requires a certain mental fortitude to be able to read the words as they're spoken, as they're written, to say them in a way that can be understood, and that you can interact in a way that I would say under duress, actually, under stress and under duress, that you are continually sort of going through the same classroom exercise over and over again. There's only a certain number of people that can do it. Some people would snap. They wouldn't do it. I think we've seen it before. You've seen it. You've experienced it. Right. So I think not anyone... Yes, anyone could be selected, but could anyone endure the same sort of ESL sort of rigor?
Well, that's kind of my thing. Is like I just got tired of this mutual friend of ours, and I said if they really wanted to improve the English, the brand name could just create a whole...
Forget the brand name. Improving English. How would you do it?
Well, I'll start off with a lot of Chinese that complain to me that, well, you guys always give favoritism to Hong Kong people. And it's like, no, we don't.
What?
It's like, no, we don't.
Who? Why? How?
Well, you know...
How can we tell?
Well, you know, ex-girlfriends and...
Oh, so your ex-girlfriend complained to you.
Oh.
That's not Chinese people. That is a ex-girlfriend from China.
Ex-girlfriends.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Dude, and you're going back to Los Angeles.
Well,
Good luck,
they're
sir.
from Shanghai and Nanjing, but it's like, no. I go, people from Hong Kong just have a better system of learning a language, which is full immersion. Something you people just don't comprehend.
Did you just say you people?
Not
Who do you mean by you people?
Mainland Chinese.
Okay. Mostly.
Yeah.
Generally.
Well, I'm not going to get into... But I had experiences like, no, they just do a better job of learning Chinese.
Yeah.
I mean, you notice that international Chinese or ethnic Chinese are proficient in Chinese and English or whatever language they grew up in. They're just proficient. It's just the mainlanders suck. And they don't understand why that is. And I'm not wasting my time anymore explaining it to them. It's just a waste of my... It's kind of like Mark Twain said right there with your book.
That's the short stories.
Yeah, he said that it's easier to trick someone than it is convince somebody that you're being tricked.
Okay.
And that's kind of the Chinese. You just can't explain to them that you just suck at the language because you have the wrong modus operandi, as opposed to...
Okay, but that's not sucking at a language. That's like they just don't give a shit.
No, they're just moronic.
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, I would.
No,
I've been here 13 years. I'm just tired of it.
I would say actually it's not so. If you were was this conversation in English or Chinese?
Both.
Nah, I don't believe it was
But
Chinese.
Even with our mutual friend or friends we're talking about, even they have a hard time comprehending the concept of you need full immersion and you need to use an English dictionary only. Even they have a hard time understanding that.
But that idea sort of, I don't know. I hear that and I go, this country is so huge, so many people. Imagine.
True, but we're at the cream of the crop.
But the Chinese
and
individuals
the ones we know,
learning English, speaking English, and multiple
or any language.
Because let's put it this way: the one of the issues that China has, mainland China has, is that its young people are so educated that I would almost say that the country doesn't have a direction for them. They didn't expect them, these people...
When you say young, how young?
Minus 35.
Okay, I can see
minus
that.
40.
I could see 30. I could see 30 or under.
Over 40, you get into the broken English.
Mm-hmm.
35 to 40, broken English but decent, still making an effort.
Mm-hmm.
30 to 35, they're okay. Under 30, they're basically fluent.
Yeah.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, they're fluent. And, I mean, you can make all sort of grammatical issues, but you didn't say it this way, but you're going, well, then, instead of changing them, change the language standards. That's sort of where it's getting to, which goes back to the Hong Kong argument, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that they are a very educated, young... The young people are very educated. The older people who don't speak English, they don't need to. And the ones in the middle, the 35 plus, how much is it going to affect their livelihood?
Not much.
It's not. It's like you learning Mandarin Chinese. You're fleeing the country, leaving the country. You're repatriating. You're
not
done.
Fleeing the country. I'll be back.
When?
Just not as a teacher.
When?
Well, when this country allows you to come freely without locking you down,
Not going to happen. Still visas.
well, then that's
Still visas.
Oh,
Visa is another type of lockdown, isn't it?
quarantine.
Okay, so locked in a hotel out of your own pocket. 7
Yeah.
days?
No.
You have the money.
No, I'm not putting up with that. That's bullshit. The rest of the world has moved on from this whole COVID thing. This country has politicized it for its own end. And whatever's happening internally in this country, because they haven't moved on where the rest of the world has, tells me there's something wrong here.
So we mentioned, we briefly talked about this, about how we've lived this life in a bubble here in China.
Literally.
And like there's the COVID experiment here, like zero COVID, dynamic zero, whatever you want to call it. Inflation. You're going back in a week. Yeah. I mean, wine is wine, water is water, burgers are burgers. They haven't changed in price very much. You're going back to the States.
Yep.
I'm interested in the people that you've talked to. What have you heard in terms of, because the people in Canada are saying it's horrible. Prices have gone up. Not just forget fuel. We can walk to the grocery store, even if it's 4 miles.
Do you really
7.6 kilometers?
Do you really want to be honest with you?
Well, sir, yes.
My parents are rich. I'm
So
not worried about it.
You're moneyed people.
Yeah.
So then it doesn't matter to you anyway.
No, it doesn't.
So then what are you concerned about?
I'm not.
Okay. So what are you going to do back in Los Angeles?
It was just the fact that do I love my mom or not?
Are you going to?
Yeah, I got to take care of her. She's 72 years old.
What? Wait a minute. You can't take care of her. She's rich. She's taking care of you.
Well, the people see it like
no,
that.
No. There's no seeing it that way. It's
physically.
Like if you just said that your parents are rich.
We go back to where we were 3 hours ago.
No, we go back to you just saying that your parents are rich.
The moment I told my mom, I'm coming back home, I'm going to law school, and I told all the foreigners and the Chinese
which your parents
women,
are paying for, or what?
Yeah, they should. They didn't pay for my education. But the moment I told the Chinese...
So you're rich, moving in with your mom, taking law school on your parents' dole.
Yeah, of course. I'm not ashamed of it. You know who convinced me of that? I can't say his name on the podcast, but he goes, Octavio. He goes, you left home at 20, and you never asked your mom or dad for a dime. And
good. That's the American way.
30 years later, I'm not getting into my siblings because that's personal stuff. But 30 years later, going back home is not a shameful thing.
Or?
Because you're going back to take care of your mom and dad.
Who's paying for your law school and your housing and food?
My mom. But I'm also a real estate agent. So,
Sounds like you're splicing words here, sir.
No. I'm been studying for renew my license. I'm not there to freeload because I'm already a real estate. That's how I met you and Denny, by the way.
Freeloading off your parents.
And, two things I learned about you and Denny. Denny should have stayed in China to take care of his son. I'll say that out loud because that was the most disappointing thing about Denny, that he abandoned his son. I was fucking pissed off. And I met his son and his wife at Qingguangdao. I understand how you like to invest in stocks. I get that. I respect you about that. But when I looked at my mom and dad, and I told this to the other two guys about 2 months ago in Solana, that I can make so much more money being a lawyer than staying in this fucking country. And that's a fact.
Doing what, though? What type of legal work are you going to do?
Doesn't matter. You can do anything.
Well, I think it does. I mean, if you're doing fucking litigious...
Well, I already decided to contracts, intellectual property rights, and immigration.
Okay.
That's I've already decided that.
So, immigration, steady flow. So, pro-Trump because the...
I'm not pro-Trump.
Well, social media hates him, which means immigration loves him.
I just don't want Biden.
Right. But immigration... good legal system to get involved in.
And I had to suck it up. It's like, you know what? If your parents have the money and the cash to help you out, just fucking do it.
Why don't you have the money and cash to do it?
Well, because I've been in China too long.
Why not? But you have been in China for that long.
I burned all my money on that book.
Are you telling me that publishing the... Okay, we haven't talked about this, by the way. You published a book.
Marketing is more expensive than publishing.
You published a book. How long ago?
5 years ago.
And what was it about?
Teaching English.
And how much did you pay for this, or were you paid for this?
No, I paid for it. I wrote it and paid. See, with the Chinese government, when you publish a book, unlike Amazon in America,
Yeah.
it's got to go through a screening or vetting process.
Right.
You got to pay for that. And that alone costs 17,000 RMB.
Mm-hmm.
And then to actually have
75,000.
physical copies of a book, you got to pay another 20.
75,000 plus 20,000.
No,
17,000
plus 20.
So that you're up to 37,000, about
Pretty
40,000.
close, yeah.
Divide by 7 gets your current USD dollar.
You know, the funny thing is, when I wrote the book, I asked 5 CELTA teachers, "You want to end on this?"
So
they all said no. It's going back to Rich Dad Poor Dad's original point. Most people, 90% of them, are not entrepreneurs. They don't care about that.
No.
They just want a paycheck.
Yeah.
And that's not me.
Okay.
So that's why when I looked at the mark in 2015, I said, okay, where do Chinese have problems with English?
Yeah. Where did you identify those areas?
Well, I'm not going to say his name, but it was a
whatever
friend of ours.
Give the English grammar, that the problems of
chunking and grammar, chunking and complex grammar.
Right.
And our research is like there's 1 million students that take the exam, and I said, oh, that could be 10 million a year.
Has it been?
No, it's not even close.
Yeah. So what does that mean?
I'm in the, like my mom said, I'm in the wrong country.
Oh. Or there's other explanations. Maybe the book isn't what you thought it was. Doesn't fill the void that you thought it would.
It could be, but my point is, nobody wanted in on it because nobody wanted to take a risk. Nobody wanted to put in the effort into helping me write the book and the we call it the study book and the exercises. Nobody wanted to do that, and these were CELTA teachers.
Yeah.
These are just any moron. They just didn't want to do it because they weren't interested. And
okay, 2 things about that. No, okay, number 1, were they doing anything else?
Just
And number 2, do you think the book has suffered because of the lack of exposure from these from that input?
I think it would be more of the latter, but
in what way?
What I've learned when I was going through my sales training, get a red book, is that the most successful salesmen always have a team and they work together.
You've said this before. What team do you mean? Because I actually have a response to this.
No, it's true. If you try to sell on your own, whether you're going door to door on the phone,
mm-hmm.
you're not going to get very far because it's kind of like you see that screen right there, and that's why I got really fat.
The screen did not make you fat, sir.
And your last guest left for the same reasons, but he's opposite of me personality-wise. You got to be around people. People motivate you to do things. They inspire you. When you're isolated in a room, you don't get much motivation to do anything.
Are you saying being isolated and creating podcasts is a bad thing?
Well, maybe it's your personality.
'Cause that's what I do. Literally, you're talking to a guy who sits at home. Most times, if I'm not working, I'm working out or doing podcasting.
Yeah, well, because you have people in your apartment.
You are the first in a very... Well, okay, the other 2 guests, the beginning of September.
And today's the 2nd?
Of October... October 1st.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's the 1st.
Since then, no one.
Uh-huh. And you have a girlfriend.
Okay.
So the point...
Yes, she is people. I acknowledge her existence.
So the point is with sales, is when I was a young salesman, you really do need a team of 3 or 4 people to motivate each other.
What's people?
It was even back in Miami and Los Angeles.
Who are the four team members?
Well, you don't know them.
In general, accountant, tax. What are they?
People who go door to door making phone calls, talking to
So for marketing people,
salesmen.
Salesmen.
Women? Marketing is not the same as sales. Marketing is a strategy. Sales is actual foot soldier.
Can you hire them in China to sell your book?
I've tried. It doesn't work.
Why not?
Because they don't understand anything.
About what?
Because the book is too complicated for them.
Could you show them?
I did.
And what happened?
Nothing happened.
So what is that? There's a couple things that could happen from here, Octavio.
See, the idea was when I wrote the book was I put IELTS on the front page for China, and then Japan, I just changed the cover and I put TOEFL. Same book, it's just a marketing scheme. And then for South Korea, I just put American English. Same book.
Sounds like a scam.
No, it's the same book.
It sounds like you're trying to make one
Do
thing
you,
to fit
do
them every
you
home.
know that all the makeup women buy with the 14, 20 labels all come from 3 factories?
Where are those factories?
Well, they're not 15 factories for different makeup. It's just all fancy factories.
Where are they?
In America, China, wherever. But the point being is that these 3 factories just sell the makeup, and the marketing company changes it to Gucci or Chanel, but it's the same bullshit. It's a marketing scheme.
Are you saying that your book is Gucci?
No, I'm saying that the book was written with the intention
Of being Gucci.
of being the best English book, but marketed differently for different places.
Let's put it this way. If you were a Mandarin Chinese language learner, would you pick up your book and look at it and go, I can learn something from this?
Yes.
What would you learn?
Grammar.
In what way?
Complex.
Give me an example.
If I had known that you would been a dick earlier, I would never have come. That's perfect 9 grammar.
Yeah. In
But
what way?
since I know you, you're a really good guy. You talk a lot of shit, but you're very insightful.
Mm-hmm.
That's 9 Lexus.
How does your book convey that?
Well, since I wrote the book before I came to Beijing, didn't know that. But what I did know is the intonation was key, because when I was teaching intonation, and I experimented with the book when I was writing in Tianjin, in the college and the high school level, and what I found was that the students had a hard time with intonation. They just didn't get it. They couldn't hear the difference.
So it's not grammar, it's intonation.
Right, it's pronunciation. It's kind of the same thing with...
You said it was grammar, though.
Well, that's based on 2 things, intonation and complex grammar. It's kind of the same thing until you get better at Chinese, that you can't hear the differences between tones or sounds. It takes a long time to discriminate between second and fourth tone, or first or third or whatever, or C, S, and T, C, X, and S. It took me a long time to discriminate between those 3 sounds, because to our ears it's all the same, right? But it's not. And the protrusion of the tongue to say an X as versus an S to a C is very different.
Does your book cover this?
I didn't write for Chinese people. The biggest criticism I get about the book is that there's no Chinese in it. And I said, well, that was the point. Because going back to the director of Mexico, it's that if you're going to want to learn a language in your own language, then you're not going to get better at the language. So if you want to learn Spanish, you can't use the Spanish-English dictionary at a certain point. And the reason why I left the Chinese out was because it was tailored for the 4 5s, 5s, and 5s, and 6s, so they can improve, because they got to take the training wheels off. And that's the problem with,
Do you think they care, though?
well,
That mid-range, intermediate, lower
I
intermediate. Do you think they care?
I have this American friend. Well, he's not longer here, but he was in the Marine Corps. He's a pilot for. He was a pilot for Tianjin Airlines, and he says something interesting to me about, from a military standpoint. The reason why China can never win a war against major powers is because they don't push their pilots, they don't push their special forces. They don't do any of that. And that's exactly what the English, they don't push them.
And why should they?
Well, that's not for me to answer. I don't know.
You wrote the book.
But his point was that the reason why China can never defeat America in an air war is because their pilots have not been pushed to the limits
Right.
of the G forces. And that's why I said people should watch Top Gun 2, because the Top Gun 2 is exactly about pushing the pilots to how many G's you can take, which they go to G10.
Are you saying your book is Top Gun 2?
Yeah. It's up there. But you guys can make it better.
Who's you guys?
You and everyone else I know.
How?
It's for you guys to figure out.
No, that's never worked. Every time I've heard that comment, it's never worked out.
How many guys do you know wrote a book?
A
English
few,
book.
apparently.
An English book.
Yeah, a few, apparently.
Yeah.
Why didn't you take the Delta?
I thought about it.
And?
I was talked out of it.
What convinced you not to take it? Because I'm taking it right now.
Because the same guy that I told you about, who told me about the weaknesses of Chinese, also told me, don't get your Delta, it's a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I'm going to go back and study law, and going back to your original question, why I just stopped learning Chinese, is because I just don't need to learn Chinese. I already made the contacts with, our mutual friends. It's just no need.
Yeah. I agree with the whole need basis of learning a language. I mean, I think one of the things that with a lot of the Chinese learners that we deal with on a regular basis, it comes down to need. And that's why we sort of hear a lot of the same sort of responses from client to client, from classroom to classroom. That's what they need. That's it. I mean, if we were faced with an immigration test to China, to come to be ESL teachers in China, if we had to prove proficiency in the Mandarin Chinese standard dialect language, how much would you give a shit about describing a plant in all its green glory rather than just describing anything that looked like a plant with the transferable words that are plant-ish?
I read articles on this recommended by a former coworker of ours. In reality, you can't measure proficiency of a language.
Okay, I don't agree with that.
I didn't say that. He said it, and I read the articles from the website that I used to work with, and there's a lot of truth to it. We describe that plant, it's like, yeah, it's green, it's got little horns, it's tight.
Little horns, that's a good one. How do you say that in Chinese?
I have no idea.
Xiaojiao.
It's very green. I think there's some dead stuff on the side.
生绿色. Yeah, dead stuff. 是的东西.
It's got a bamboo stick or two that she got stuck in there. It's tied up with a white
How do you say tied up with a
string.
white thing?
I have no idea.
Neither do
I'm just paraphrasing.
I've never said that before in the Chinese.
But you can tell that hasn't been watered in weeks.
That's not true. It's been watered last week. It's a little plant. Actually, one thing I feel bad about this plant, and there's another one. You probably can't see it. His brother is over there. He died because we changed the soil, but I don't think it was the soil. Also, this backdrop I was putting here, and it cut off the sunlight.
Okay.
So with the change of soil and the cutoff of sunlight, that one's dead. This one's still alive. So I don't know exactly. Obviously, it can't be just the sunlight because this one's still living, but the soil has stayed the same. But do you, with the book, is there another book in the process, or like?
Nah, there's no other book in the process. In fact,
what about like a YouTube series, a Udemy course?
I've asked our mutual friends, like, give you the book, you guys rework it, make it better, do what you want.
So you're putting it off to
just give me some credit.
Right. That's all you want, though.
Yeah, I just want the name. I don't need the royalties.
Wow. So Jingdong can just take that.
Well,
or Taobao.
Well, what I'm getting at is there's a lot of, one thing I understand, the difference is there's guys and women that can do better than me to write a book. It's just the difference is I wrote the book and they haven't written anything.
Okay, so is that who you compare yourself to, though?
Well, I compare myself as to who has drive and who doesn't.
Right.
Academically, there's a lot of people smarter than me. But driven-wise, no, they don't have what I have.
What do you think that makes a difference?
Do you have the drive, wake up in the morning, work it out, do it?
How long did it take you to make that book?
Over 2 years.
What was it based on?
Well, originally it was based on pronunciation and Columbus grammar. But when I got to Shanghai, I didn't understand the concept of rubrics.
Right.
We call,
asking a question.
Descriptors.
I thought I was asking a question.
You're right, but there's a measurement or
measurement. Yeah, I see what you mean.
And I didn't understand that part, and that's what was the last part of the book.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people says like, well, it should have been 2 books. It's like, yeah, I asked my publisher like, should we make this 2 books? And he's like, no. It's back in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
But
that wasn't too long ago, though.
No, it wasn't. It was a 5-year contract, though, so I'm out of it now.
What do you mean it's a 5-year contract?
It was an exclusive contract. They're in Beijing, actually. I actually was making TikTok videos with them during the pandemic.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into that whole thing because...
why not? What do you mean you were making... I want to see this.
Well,
what were you TikToking about?
Well, I mean... The publisher speaks no English, but the girlfriend speaks perfect English.
Okay.
And she was the one that made TikTok videos, but they would get in arguments.
Yeah.
And it was pretty obvious that he didn't like the fact that she was getting close to me.
Okay.
And he was...
a Chinese guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
He did...
But the girl was educated overseas, or...?
Both, yeah.
Right.
She's Chinese, but she's Sichuan, but she's definitely educated in
Yeah.
England. But he didn't like the fact that her and I were getting close. Just naturally. It was just very naturally. It wasn't like I was trying to hit on her.
Why didn't you do any social media stuff for it?
Well, I looked into it 2 years ago, right after them.
Because 2017, like, it's 5 years
so
since then.
2000.
What were you doing in that time to sort of make the book more than just a book?
2020. October 2020, November 2020.
Yeah.
I did look into it, and everything went pure video.
Yeah.
And,
did you make any videos?
Well, I dabbled in it, but you have to... Lucy, you ever heard of Lucy's English?
No.
Oh, man.
Oh, wait a minute. You sent me her channel before.
Yeah.
I know
When
what
I
you're
heard
talking
Lucy's English, it's like, I go, I can't compete with this.
Yeah, no, because it's proper production value and stuff like that. But you can learn
And
that.
I talked to our friend, what's his name? Can I say his name? Our friend from England, the lawyer, ex-lawyer.
Which one?
Matt Lee.
Oh, right on.
But when we talked...
He's also leaving.
Yeah, I know he's also... But when when him and I talked about it, I know we all talked about it last year at my birthday. He's like, no, man, you got to have 1 million hits to start making money.
To make money from advertisements.
Yeah.
But from affiliates and other sales, you could do other venues.
But he's absolutely right. You have to have those hits.
Yeah.
And
he's not interested in being an ESL teacher, though.
No, I'm not either.
Well, I'm getting that, sir. I'm understanding that.
But so I had dinner last night with a couple of friends that one of them is actually in the advertising industry with the hits. And the reason why I invited to dinner last night was because I wanted to say, hey, even though I'm leaving China, I still want to advertise who I am.
Bridge open.
Bridge open.
Yeah.
To advertise in your country. And that's why I invited her. She's a younger woman.
It sounds like book, no book. It's an accomplishment. You did it.
Exactly.
I mean, you did step up. You're like the long march of ESL teachers to like basically other people had the idea, I'm going to do a book. I'm going to write a book. But you did. So like, what else did you learn other than...
Well, what's interesting what I learned and ended on this point, I'm getting drunk and tired, but when I wrote that latter part of the teacher's guide, it was a feedback system before I left Nanjing. And when I saw our employer half-assing it, I was like, you guys could do better than this. Mm-hmm. Because I have already wrote it out that you speak for 2 minutes, you analyze the speech in all 4 categories, and you tell them what they need to expand on, how many false starts they have, and then you get into the Lexus, are they repeating the same word, interesting, delicious, and how many grammatical mistakes are they making. and the pronunciation with the chunking and the phonological features, and you have to write a proper report in each category because they don't know what they're making mistakes in.
Yeah.
And one of our coworkers said himself 2 years ago, "We're consultants, but they don't act like it."
Well,
go ahead.
Aside from that, I mean, I understand what you mean. Like, it's not just English; it's every language needs that sort of rigorous consultancy per column of skill. Because you're talking about grammar, pronunciation, vocab, lexis, whatever you want to call it, and cohesion and stuff like that, right? I mean,
and when I was learning Spanish, you know who called me out on my bad Spanish grammar? It's my fucking older sister.
She called you out.
She would call me out on like
grammar terrible.
Your grammar and your pronouns of direct and indirect are all off.
Yeah.
But she was actually the one that called me out on it, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I get it."
Would you be okay with someone calling you out on something like linguistically like that? Like,
yeah,
if it wasn't family.
If they have to. They don't need the decorum. They just need to be like, well, they teach this for a living.
Yeah, it has to be there.
Do this for a living.
They have to be an expert in what they're actually talking about.
And that's the interesting thing about lawyers that people don't get. Lawyers are de facto linguists.
No. Well, I see what you mean, but not really. They're linguists by a legalese means.
But they're linguists.
Wow, that's one way to consider what a lawyer is. I guess so. Yeah, I see what you mean. I absolutely. They're reading.
Well, we never really thought about it, but it's actually kind of true. So, to end this conversation, because I'm getting really drunk and I'm hungry, but growing up with two parents who are fantastic lawyers was always about speech writing.
Your parents are lawyers?
Both of them.
Why are you an ESL teacher? You're still on vacation.
That's why my mom said, like, "Hey, come back home and pay for you to go to law school.
Come back home.
Stop this whole.
Stop the charade.
Stop this whole Peter Pan thing and living a free life. So my wild oats. But yeah, the difference between my mom and dad. Mom is a great public speaker. My dad is a great writer of law. That's when I looked at, where we were in the last 3 years and like, it's not the arrogance, it's just that I'm better than this.
Yeah. You think so? Like, in what way? Because you're not the only one.
Because I'm not producing anything.
Well, what else could you produce?
We don't produce anything.
I hear you.
You know what I mean.
I hear you.
We
don't do anything. Well,
no,
it's
don't.
the Matthew McConaughey, Wolf of Wall Street. We don't do anything.
We just assess. Exactly. We just assess.
Absolutely.
And like going back to the whole feedback system or speak up, it's like if they just gave me the keys, that could have made the best system to improve all their English and
so
get
why
their
don't
scores.
you do something like that?
Well, I just realized this is a waste of my time. Because the English...
In what way? Because you see the deficiency. Like, do you think you could replace it?
I'm not going to... I thought about that.
So I think everybody has thought about
replacing it. In the last 3 years, I realized that the British are parrots. They just repeat nice stuff like Shakespeare's sonnets. But that's all they can do. They can't produce anything new.
Right.
They really can't. Americans are like beavers. They build dams. I'm not sure about Canadians, but...
How different is a dam from a different dam?
Well, they build dams. They don't repeat Shakespeare's sonnets.
How different is one dam from another?
But the point is, beavers build stuff.
Okay.
Parrots just repeat stuff.
Right.
That's the British Empire today. They just repeat stuff. There was a joke in the break room about 2 years ago with Tom Langham. I'll say his name.
Good man.
No, he was
fluent in Russian.
He was, yeah, he was
gorgeous voice.
He was one of my best friends and mentors.
I heard his voice. I'm like, you are panty dropping good voice, man.
No. But have you ever had a drink with him? You have a different opinion. But
he never drank around me.
Wise. But it was one day we're in the break room, and this American guy goes, "Are you guys just going to make yourselves the 51st state, or just join the German Commonwealth?" And he said, "You guys ain't worth the fucking shit anymore. You guys are just pathetic."
To who? About what? The
Tom
Germans
Langham and the
well,
the
Germans
British.
or the Americans?
The Germans.
Oh,
No, the British are just not worth anything anymore.
Right. Okay.
That was his point.
Yeah.
And he was an American telling him that. And I just kind of like, and that was the first time Tom Lang was just left speechless.
Yeah.
Because I said myself, I was like, yeah, do you guys want to be the 51st state? Or maybe you should just join the German Commonwealth, because really, you guys are useless.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just useless, and nobody wants you.
Yeah.
Even the Europeans don't want you.
Mm.
And we all know that. And I thought it was just kind of funny, but that's just my take. I'm not talking shit about the British per se, but
Almost sounds like you are a little bit. Not gonna lie, just a little bit. But okay, so you published a book. 20. How many years in China? 13, 15, right?
Right.
Any regrets about what you haven't done?
Well, no, because
You've done it all.
I didn't come here to get married.
Right. Okay. And you've done it all. Like, you've done your check boxes. Like, when I'm going to do this, that,
Look at
whatever.
it like that. I think that was the pride in me that I wanted to prove that I can make it to the company.
Yeah.
Because,
not just this company. I mean, yourself company. Sort of.
Yeah, when I got the CELT, a lot of people said, like, why are you still in Tianjin? And, like, why didn't you get a better job? So I moved to Shanghai, got hired by Shanghai International School, which gave me the credentials to eventually come here to Beijing. And I was just very prideful. I was like, I wanted to prove that, like, I can make it.
That you can do it. Yeah.
And I did do it for 3 years. I agreed.
Would you say that this right now, where you are right now, is sort of like the... Because I tell people, like, when you hit a certain echelon, especially with Beijing, there's no going back. It's like, once I've noticed that people, when they hit Beijing, they either leave or stay for so long, it's like they've lived here their entire lives.
It's probably both, but since I new to Beijing as opposed to Shanghai, Nanjing, Tianjin, and Qinhuangdao, I have a very different perspective about, like, Beijing is not the...
Okay, so, I mean, because you have lived... I know you want to get going. You have other things to get done. But, like, your view of China from the different places that you've lived in, how different is the country from place to place? Like, people say China. China's this, China that. What's your take?
My take about China is that Beijing is not China.
Right. So
it's kind of like America. New York is not
China to you, or what would you explain to be China?
New York and California, not America, right?
It's a horrible dichotomy, isn't it?
Yeah.
How would you explain when you go back to Los Angeles and someone says, "How was China?" You're gonna go, "The fuck do you mean is China?" I'm waiting for how do you respond?
I don't know. That's a tough question.
I think that's the only.
You know, the funny thing is, when we went to Wuhan...
What emoji can you send to them?
When we went to Wuhan in September 2020, and I went with a lot of the guys, one of the names I mentioned, and it's like, nobody's masked.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
2020.
Yeah, September 2020. And we're on the river with one of our colleagues. And I'm like, what the hell's going on here? No one cares about masking up or showing QR codes or whatever that crap is.
2020 September was different, though. That was pre-COVID.
No, it was after.
2020.
2020. Remember, September of 2020. We went in lockdown February 2020.
2021.
No, 2020.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
So...
Because it's COVID-19, not COVID-20. I gotcha.
I didn't even think about that.
Yep. Just clearing in here.
It just clicked, right?
China was very free for a very long time.
And that's what we all miss.
And the world was sort of like locking down, and China was like, it's fine.
You're right.
But then it sort of inverted itself.
Right.
So, but COVID aside, 13, 14, 17 goddamn years, lots of years in China. Someone says to you, how was China? How do you even respond to that? Now that you're now an Chinese expat living people.
You know what, man? I would say that I had some great times and some bad times.
What was the greatest time?
Oh, man. This is live, right?
100%.
I think with
Canada, how you doing?
I think with the women, my best times were actually in Shanghai.
Yeah.
But I was so miserable that I didn't enjoy those moments.
Why were you miserable?
Well, I think because I thought I was going to marry this woman from Tianjin.
Okay.
That's partially why I wrote the book, because it proved to her, like, I'm a high-value man, I could do this.
Yeah.
And she told me her dad was a publisher, but that's another story. But Tianjin, when I lived there for 5 years, I actually had a really good time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I first got involved with the Hash House Harriers, became the GM. And
what is Hash House Harriers? Sorry,
it's a drinking club with a learning problem.
All right, so
it
that
started by the
was
British
not what I was
military.
going with in my mind.
No,
like
it started by the British military back in Indonesia or Malaysia. But that's
a country.
That's when I just stayed, and after I got the Celts in 2014, in February, so by April 2014, my former student introduced me to the Hash, and it was just great. Yeah. You run around the city, you drink piss.
What?
You drink alcohol.
Okay. Wow.
You meet women.
Right.
And you fornicate. And I was like, it's being a great time.
What would you say is your worst experience here in China?
Shanghai.
Wow, that's a double whammy.
Yeah, it was.
Why? What happened?
A lot of things happened.
Well, if it's the worst experience, it has to be the worst.
I finally had to grow up.
Oh,
the
no.
world is a cruel place.
Damn you.
The world is a cruel place.
In what way?
You got to be vicious. Kind of going back to The Prince, written by Machiavelli. That nice guys finish last. That's just a cliche, but it's true. Mm-hmm. If you want to succeed in this world, you got to be vicious.
How did you experience that in Shanghai?
Because with former co-workers and the Hash, because I started out in the Tianjin Hash and everything was great. It's a nice family town, blah blah blah. But when I went to Shanghai, it was all vultures and sharks, and I was not prepared for that.
Could you be a vulture or a shark? Do you consider it to be?
I am now.
In which one are you?
I'm a shark.
Okay. Why?
Because that's how you have to be to survive in the world.
Yeah.
If you want to move up. They talk about the mob, early in politics. Nobody plays nice. It's kind of like a guy told me in Tianjin, this old white guy. And I just prefaced that, old white guy. He goes, you see that? He goes, you see that SOB over there? He makes $10 million a year. He goes, you know why? Because he's an asshole.
That's one view of it, I guess, yeah.
And he's not the only guy that's told me that.
Okay, so you're going back to the States. Do you think you will be an expat again, or what's going on?
No, but I do expect myself to come back to China.
No way. When?
Not as an ESL teacher.
Okay, well
when they open
we all hope that.
When they open the borders, but I'll come back
yeah.
as a lawyer saying, hey, I got a deal going on.
Yeah.
And the one thing, the lawyer I met yesterday with contracts and intellectual property rights is volume-wise, the money's actually in contracts. Mm-hmm. My parents are trial lawyers. They like, if you're calling my mom and dad about something, obviously you killed somebody.
Oops.
Or sexually assaulted somebody. Or
oops.
You robbed the bank. They're criminal lawyers. They love that shit. I don't.
So what do you love?
Well, intellectual property rights. This is what I had to think about earlier this year when I was applying to law school. It's like, why do I want to be a lawyer? And I thought about it when I got screwed over by the publisher with intellectual property rights. It's like, intellectual property rights, contracts, and immigration.
You want to protect that sort of that idea.
Yeah, and in Americans,
the idea is the implication of those ideas.
In Americans today,
yeah,
I know we talk about politics here with Joe Biden and all that shit, but Americans today make all the money off intellectual property rights.
And that's what China's big into right now.
Bill Gates is the perfect example.
He's one.
But he's his father was a lawyer.
Yes, he was.
But
no one knows Bill Gates' father. No one does.
But he's not even a coder. He basically. Well, you can code as best as I could. Ones and zeros.
Really? Okay, no, I can't.
That's what coding is. Ones and zeros, by the way.
What about Python or like C++?
Yeah, it's all ones and zeros.
Different. No, but okay, I see where you're going with it.
Right, but that's computer language in a nutshell. But my point is that
very large nutshell, sir. Very large.
Well, I don't teach coding, but
I see that you don't code.
But my point is, he became the richest man in the world because of his father.
Right.
Was an intellectual property lawyer.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's a legal sort of thing. You see yourself coming back to China as a lawyer at some point. What do you think the timeline is?
5 years.
5 years. So that's 2027.
That's why I had lunch with the lawyer yesterday or the day before.
I mean, but 5 years. Yeah. What do you think you're going to do in the next 5 years?
That I have to go back and plan.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure yet.
But law school, how long is it going to take?
3.
Fuck. So you got 3 years of being a student again.
But I already had 3 years here in Beijing.
Law school?
No, but my point is...
Well, but 3 years of law school to become the lawyer that's going to come back in 5 years' time.
If I had understood 2 years ago where this country is going now, and had the courage to do it 2 years ago,
you would have done it.
I would have already done it.
Do you think you could have, though? Because 2 years was a different world.
It was a different world.
Horribly different, to tell you the truth.
Very different. But, in fact, this was right before the Shirterdong experience.
Yeah.
The fall before. And, you know, as a man, you kind of look at yourself like, I'll be 47 in 3 weeks. And I'm like...
Happy birthday.
No, thank you. I know you were little last
year.
No. But what I'm getting at is, you got to figure out things real fast as you get older as a man.
I hope not.
Well,
I'm still just doing a podcast.
But no, it's doing pretty good.
It's still recording. Good. I hope.
But
what? Okay, so you meet a young man, Los Angeles. Not that way.
So,
but I mean, if you were to meet a young guy who's like 19, 21, legal drinking age, you're at the bar, and he was like, well, maybe I'll go teach English, or I'll go to law school, or I'll go just backpack Europe. All things that you've done before. What would you be shocked? Would you encourage? Would you discourage? What would you say to that guy? Or girl?
Or to the guy, I would say, yeah, go for it.
Girl, what would you say?
Do it quickly.
How quickly?
Before 30.
That's a long time, though. If they're 19, that's 11 years. It's a long time backpacking. I wish I fucking backpacked more than...
Yeah, but a guy can take his time.
Why?
Because our biological clock has no limit.
No limits. You're right. I can't disagree. I'm asking you...
It's that simple.
It's horrible. In that being the case, though, I sort of see it as a Canadian science lover. If you're interested in that sort of thing, like if you could go into that sort of area of researching how to extend the lifetime of a woman's viability in terms of producing children, because that is one of the standards.
Well,
that
I think
a lot of people hold
I thought about this.
As two very middle income men do.
They already have to have had a child. As I've gotten older, I've actually preferred the single moms because they already have a child.
Why are they divorced, though?
That's not my problem. I don't give a fuck.
Have you asked and listened to what they said?
The Chinese, yeah, because their parents forced them into it.
What about the others?
Well,
how many others were there?
They were young and pretty at 22, 23, 24.
Okay, good question. So how old were they typically?
Yeah, that age.
22,
and the parents forced them into
right.
it. So my only question to them is, in their late 30s, early 40s, now, what most people don't know, the woman I wanted to actually marry and be with is from Hangzhou, who's 43 now, smoking hot. But we met in Shanghai. And the girlfriend before her was born in 81 with a son from Shanghai.
She was born with a son?
Well, no, I mean, I'm just saying her age. But what I'm getting at is,
it was just funny how you said it for being about grammar.
What I start to realize is these women are happier or happy,
right?
Because they already have their children, and you don't have to.
Do you think it's possible? I hate to cut you
Go
off
ahead,
here,
go
but
ahead.
it's like, do you think it's possible that the first marriage may very well be a failure, end up in divorce?
I've read articles about this.
It seems to be one of the things that's trending, but maybe
It's going on for 20 years in America.
For China especially,
it's catching up to them.
United States, I mean, you say you're divorced, no one bats an eye, but China, you say you're divorced, it's like hands off. It's almost worse than COVID.
Well, I'm born in 75, so one of the reasons why I suffer from some depression.
You don't suffer from some
because
depression.
At that time,
you suffer from application.
At that time in the early 2000s, all my friends at 22, 23, 24, all got married, except me.
How many of them are still married?
They all got divorced.
No shit. No way.
And so
give me a happy.
And so as time went on,
tell me something happy about this. Are you serious? They all got fucking divorced.
Pretty much.
What do you mean, pretty much? How many? What percentage? Give me a fucking.
I have to think of someone who's still married.
Because I'm not gonna lie.
I have to still think
my
of someone who's
sister
married.
said, like, when she joined a marriage, like a talking blah 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 form, before she got married, 10 years later, most were divorced. Like, holy fuck.
Well, no, I'm saying they all got married at 22, 23, 24.
Right.
And by the time they're all 30, they're all divorced.
All divorced. But, okay,
Yeah.
so that's one thing. But like, as an expat, I mean, that's next level shit.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's different culture. You're crossing. I've always sort of got the impression that if you are going to marry or enter into a Chinese marriage contract, it's the Chinese culture that's going to dominate. It's not going to be Spanish. It's not going to be Ukrainian. It's not going to be fucking French. Canadian, nothing. Canadian for the passport. American for the passport. It's not going to be different cultures. You're going to be eating balza. And it's not that this is a bad thing. It's just that culturally speaking,
Mm-hmm.
the grandparents are going to eat certain foods. They're going to speak a certain language to your child, that they're going to take care of, and they will lovingly take care of.
Mm-hmm.
But you will not be able to say, God damn it, that's not the latest American literature on the liberal left that says you can't do that. They will be like, but our people have done this. Ever. Not even forever. It's just ever. There's no timeline to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of my impression of like the Chinese culture with its... And the people I see successfully integrating, adopting, and marrying into the Chinese the way of life. I don't. What do you see? I mean, in terms of successful marriages, failed marriages. How is Tinder, by the way? Is Tinder still?
I don't use Tinder. I use Tantan.
Is Tantan decent? Because your Chinese is shit.
It wasn't
apparently.
Tianjin. It wasn't
What about
Shanghai.
Beijing?
Shanghai was perfect, man. Oh, Shanghai was beautiful.
What about Beijing?
Everything changed.
What changed?
They wanted more money.
Your parents have money.
Yeah, but they wanted my money.
Oh, and you didn't want to give it to them.
Well, I just got tired of it.
Why not?
Well, that's why I met Jane. I met Jane through Tantan.
Yeah. Did you meet anybody else aside from Jane?
2 others.
Okay. What were they like?
Well, the one had a Mercedes-Benz from Beijing. But the moment I moved to Tongzhou,
Snap. Done.
she said, like, nah, we're done.
You're poor people.
And someone explained that to me. He goes, Octavio, the moment you move to Tongzhou, Chinese women think you have no money.
Family or poor? Pick one, but you can't be both.
I never saw it like that. I thought it was just like, hey, is this a smart financial move?
Yeah, well,
And
yeah.
this woman has a freaking Mercedes-Benz.
She's not looking for you. She's looking for Saint Latoon or
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. Samtun, Shuangjing, those, but Wang Jing. Wang Jing would be okay.
And I didn't even understand that until after the fact. I was like, oh.
But you have been dating women. How is the scene? Because I'm not on the scene. I mean, how is it?
Well,
for the young men listening to this, thinking about coming to China.
Well, you know what? I mean, the scene today is actually not bad, but it's not enough to keep me here. I'm just like, I'm done with this.
Well, it seems like it. Yeah, no, you're
just done with it. It's like,
what made you done with it?
The lockdowns.
Fuck yeah. You're not the only one. You're not the only one.
That shit right there. I'm just done with it.
Working from home.
There's just no camaraderie anymore.
Yeah.
I know your other guest had a lot of mental issues, but he doesn't drink, but he still had mental issues.
Which other guest?
The one from Egypt.
Omar!
Yes.
Oh, yeah. No, he was a good, insightful interview.
Yeah.
A lot of Arabic and Egyptian history going on there.
Right.
Yeah.
But he handled the escalation differently than me.
Yeah.
I just drank on the job.
Why? But why? What made you do that?
Well, because I was just bored.
Yeah.
It's like.
Do you think you would do that with any other job, though?
No.
Wow.
It was the first time.
Really?
Yeah. My apartment is nothing to look at.
I've received comments. Like, even the fact that I have wooden floors has received comments from people. Like, at least you have wooden floors. I'm like, the fuck? Are you
No,
kidding
I got
me?
ceramic.
I have seen this before.
Mm-hmm.
And for the number of the price decrease that I could get for living in a cheaper place, going to ceramic tiles, I'm like, I can't do that. It's too institutionalized.
Yep.
I can't do it. Wood floors, like, at least I still have a fear of not dropping the kettlebells on the floor. There's a fear of aesthetics, not just for me, but like when the Fandong, the apartment landowner, charges me for stupid stuff that I didn't even fucking do. I don't know if you noticed the leaking tap, but it's there. I got to replace it at some point. The wooden floors, apparently the whole compound is like this. Mm-hmm. Apparently wooden floors, and they're all redoing them, but the ceramic tiles, too institution, can't do it.
Yeah, that was the trade-off between Tongzhou and where I live now. In Tongzhou, I had an awesome apartment.
You had a huge apartment, didn't you? I've never been there.
No one has except Wei.
Whatever.
But
it was huge. You paid cheap monies.
$45 a month for 72 square foot new.
Okay, this is 59.
Yeah.
This is 59.
But the problem was that when I want to take women back home, they go, "Where do you live?" I was like,
"How often did that happen, sir?"
Once a week.
Jesus, you playa.
Yeah, of course.
Playa.
But it caught on after
Big dick
InterNations.
playa.
But it caught on. It's like, "Oh, you live in Tongzhou?" It's like, yeah.
It didn't caught on. They fucking heard the word Tongzhou. It's like, it's too far.
Pretty much. It's like, I'll pay for your taxi back home.
But my husband needs breakfast by 6:30.
It's probably true. But the moment they heard Tongzhou, it's like, I'll pay for your taxi back home. It's like, no.
No, I can't do it.
No. And that was
Tap out,
seventh woman that told me that last August.
Seventh woman.
Yeah, they said, no, I can't do that.
Okay. So you're playing the game. You meet these women through Tantan or Tinder or Tantan?
Tantan, InterNations, whatever.
Yeah. So, okay. InterNations. The truth. Old man, young women. Is it a pickup bar or is it not? What do you think?
I think it's not.
Okay.
Unless you're an old man.
You're getting closer.
And I've had
respectfully, you're
few
right.
women for business.
Right.
But I think the problem with Beijing InterNations is it's the government officials that screw it all up.
You think so?
Yeah, because they're only here for temporarily.
Yeah.
Whether from the Spanish embassy or the American embassy.
Oh, so it's all the embassy people.
Yeah. They're the guys that actually go to the InterNations.
Right.
And they screw it all up.
Does that inspire you to join that sort of ranks of an embassy people at all? Have you ever thought about working for
Well,
an embassy?
I do know quite a few guys from the American embassy.
Yeah.
Because they also hash.
Yeah.
But,
again, with not hash, biking.
But you got to look at it yourself.
No, we need biking and running. It's not hashing.
They do bike
They're
and
not
run.
hashing anything
they
that's
do
wrong.
bike and run.
Right.
If you can imagine drinking beer while riding or drinking beer while running,
I can't. I don't.
you can't. Yeah, don't worry about it.
I can't.
It's
I
not for
won't
everybody.
because I can't bike and run while drinking. I've noticed that one's empty. You got to go to that one, the yellow one.
Yeah, I see that.
The yellow one, sir. That one's done too. We've done a good number.
Yes, we have.
We've done a good number.
Are we going to dinner?
Well, it depends on what the girl. Oh, the girlfriend. Okay. 7 seconds. A sure thing. That wasn't the girlfriend. That was another man.
So we should. Because I'm getting drunk here, so I think we should.
Well, if you drank more water, sir, I put 2 bottles of water in front of you, and the ratio of your water to wine intake has been more wine than water.
Yeah, but wine tastes better.
Of course, sir. Why am I speaking like a British man, sir? Anyway.
I don't know.
All right. This outline. Have we done everything that you want to?
I have no idea. You tell me.
Fantastic, because like you sent me this. I appreciate it. I really do. I was out most of the week. I was I was sick. I was done.
Mm-hmm.
You sent me this outline a couple days ago, and I appreciate it because you did send me your life outline from 1995 to 2015, basically to why I'm leaving China is the last point. And I think we talked about it. I think a lot of people would be would be interested in hearing your point of being in the country for so long, being excited about coming to China, because you were back 20, 30 years ago, almost 30 years ago, and now you're leaving. You think you're going to be back in 5 years? I mean, well, how was China? I'm going to be the Los Angeles bar man. Hey, well, dude, how was China?
I think where we not started the conversation, but in the middle of the conversation, really has to do with I can only go so far as an English teacher.
Sorry, do you want to do shots?
Shots of what?
Tequila.
As long as we go to like the brew fog or something.
Oh no, I have like a little bit of tequila I have to get rid of.
Okay. But we'll finish it up here. And then we'll have shots.
We're doing shots on YouTube.
But
social media
it's going back to what we kind of were talking about earlier, is that I can only do so much as an ESL teacher here.
What is the limitation?
Basically where you and I were in the company.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Do you think that's the... I don't want to say it, but I want to say it.
That's the ceiling.
I have to say it. It's the ceiling.
That's the ceiling.
Fuck. Shit.
Yeah, it's pretty much it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I met a few English consultants in Shanghai.
Yeah.
But the hoops they had to go through to get their own sponsorship, their own company, register. I don't have that type of cash.
Have you thought about getting a business visa? I have, and I heard about the realities of it.
That is something interesting that you just brought up.
Americans, 10 years, but I've heard not the golden palisade that we think it is.
It used to be worth something 10, 12, 20 years ago.
Okay, 20 years is a different life. Okay.
Yeah, that was baby
15 years, 5 years is a different lifetime. We talk now times, okay?
But to end this conversation, I realized
we tried to end this conversation literally half an hour ago. By what you just said.
But okay. Just end it because I've got to take a piss.
You can take a piss and I can entertain
that. I could do so much more in this country as a lawyer than I can as an ESL teacher, and that's just the bottom line.
Now, what if you were an ESL lawyer?
I could do that, but I'm still a lawyer.
But an ESL teacher. You'd be the bottom rung of ESL of...
But I would have my own company registered, and all you guys come over to America and run at my institution. That's something different.
Sounds like an institution, sort of not legal.
Well, English institution. But what I'm getting
like
at
an English school or like legal school. I don't know. I have no idea.
I'm just making it up.
Yeah. But you have these ideas, dude. It's fantastic. You have these ideas.
Our company doesn't allow us to use those ideas.
But you do.
Yeah, that's what.
But you do.
But that's where I realized I just need to leave.
Yeah.
I just needed the courage to come. Like, you know what? I need to leave this company because I was so stubborn about being rejected 3 times, and by the 4th time I finally got accepted. Mm-hmm. And I was a little bitter about it.
Rejected about what?
Application
for
our company.
Okay.
And so I was a little had a chip on my shoulders.
Oh, I thought it was for the legal.
No. I was like, these guys were hired by our company.
Yeah.
And they chose them over me.
Right.
And I was like, you gotta be
fucking kidding me. Not freaking fucking kidding.
Yeah, it's like, you guys are anyway. So, but when I look at it this past year, it's like
fucking brutal.
No, it's not even the same. It's not even the same job.
Yeah.
And I realize now
okay,
that.
so my question
Go
to
ahead.
you for because I messaged you before about the jobs in management. What would you do different as a manager? What would you do different as an ESL company?
I would build the Speak Up department and make it work.
What do you mean by Speak Up? Sorry.
They started that Speak Up program where you advise where their English is deficient or needs improvement.
Mm-hmm.
I would expand on that.
In what way?
Every way.
Yeah, that's a lot of ways.
Right, but they lack the vision. That's why I said that British are parrots.
Well, so in what way would you
beavers.
sort of branch out?
Well, I create different teams. It's like, okay, you're in charge of fluency, you're in charge of Lexis, you're in charge of
okay, so you split them all.
Yeah, because
4 different groups.
Because one thing I learned in business and sales, you need to build teams.
That sounds communist, sir.
Well, whatever it might sound like, but that's what they lack here.
Okay.
And that's why
they don't lack communism here.
No, they lack they lacked intelligence
in application.
Application.
Okay.
And that's what I would do differently, because they actually had the concept was there.
Right.
But they didn't know what to do with it.
Right. Okay, so in splitting, you want professionals to do only what they're good at.
Well, they can revolutionize the entire teaching program if they wanted to.
How easy do you think that is, though?
But who's our employer? They have the resources and branding to do it.
You're a fuck. No. You're American. You have credit.
Exactly.
No. I'm calling you out, sir. You have gumption. You have money, credit, easy credit. You have credit cards and bank rolls. You can find the money. I'm pointing at you, sir. That you as an American...
Well, I'm not going to invest in it here anymore.
Why not?
It's a waste of time.
China or English teaching or what?
China.
But you love the country and the culture, the people, it's everything.
You know the dichotomy with our employer is...
Forget the employer.
They talk shit on
You're
this
American.
side.
You got the money.
Well, I'm not
you got the
cause.
ideas.
Yeah, of course.
You got the book.
That's why my mom told me to go back to America.
So you're giving up on the ESL industry to go illegal. Are you going legal ESL? Legal soul? That's what it is. It's legal soul. That's what you're doing. I appreciate you coming on today. I do. I've been interrogating you. I've been challenging you. I've been taking the opposite side pretty much all the time that I could. 5 bottles of wine in, or 5 bottles of whatever we've been drinking. Dude, I'm surprised that you're leaving. Because you were pro Chinese culture 2 years ago.
I was actually very
pro learning Chinese. I want to sort of understand why that you didn't want to.
I had these fantasies in my head that, like, I want to marry Chinese women, have Chinese kids.
But you believed it.
I believed it, and I'm like, nah, I'm done with it.
You believed it. I mean, if you got 10 more minutes, we can talk. Was it you or someone else who made the comment about the people who are more fluent in Chinese? It wasn't you. It was someone else. It was, let me think of, I know, Ben. One of the Bens. We don't have to say. Ben, the idealistic Ben, did say that the people who are more fluent in Mandarin Chinese have not girlfriends, wives.
Okay.
So they're fluent, like several of our colleagues. It's not just the people who have been in China for a long time, but the people who've married into the culture. They are the most fluent. So, shit. So
where are you going with this?
You were 10 more minutes. You wanted to talk about. Well, I wanted to talk about your sort of experience in China, leaving China, your experience overall. I mean, think of it like you're in a week. You're leaving a country you've lived in for so long. Um, what it's almost hard for me to ask what your feelings are like because as a man you don't want to ask, but at the same time it's like you've done so much, you've been so many places, you've traveled. What do you think?
When I don't drink and go to bed, I have nightmares about living back in America.
Oh, why?
I got to deal with my siblings.
Yeah. Is it your siblings?
Ah, they're fucking awful.
But it's family though.
Yeah, I know, but they're still.
Think of it this way: if you're married into a Chinese family, do you think it'd be different?
Well, after 7 years ago, my same student slash friend told me that she made an observation, and I totally agree. I totally agree with her at the time that Western men, English in UK or USA, when they marry a Chinese woman, they're miserable. And
I've
that
heard
was
this.
something I could just never.
You can't get over it.
No,
it
I
fucking
couldn't.
sticks, doesn't it?
It was because they were just so miserable. It doesn't
In
matter.
what way though?
It doesn't matter their proficiency of Chinese. It's that they're stuck in China. The Chinese women who marry UK US men who go back to a US and UK.
So the Chinese women who leave,
With the
those relationships are more happy.
Yes.
With the foreigners.
UK USA.
But what do the Chinese women say? Good.
Well,
It's a very good question. No, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. What would the Chinese women say to that though? She will not respond quickly enough.
Well, me check out my. Well, I got a few friends that.
And we're waiting for Octavio's response.
Like Zhao Xin said, Zhao Xin. Oh yeah, I asked her. Good day. Moving question. Which moving company did you guys use in Tianjin? And she says, how much did you guys? I said, how much did you guys pay for a kilo to move your stuff from China to USA? The quote from the mover. She goes, funny. Thing was that we didn't use a moving company. And I said, what? She goes, yes, we left most of our stuff in China. She wanted nothing to do with China. And she's in Florida with her husband.
Shit. Do you think... How much stuff are you taking back with you?
Oh, I've already moved tomorrow I gotta move my last box. But
No.
her point is that she just wants nothing to do with China.
These bottles have literally multiplied. Magically. Shockingly.
Well, I'm waiting for the pizza boxes, but...
Did you order or not?
I thought...
Oh, shit. No, we didn't. Okay, we'll get to that.
Okay.
We will do that.
My point being is...
Pizza. Misha.
That, if you're a foreigner in China, you have to take your spouse back to where you're from to be happy. It's not going to happen in China. No matter how good you are at the language. It's going back to that whole hiking trip with Jane.
Please don't hinge your life on Jane's hiking
No,
trip.
but she understands. But she understands it very well.
I know. I get it.
Yeah, and she just said, just go back to where you're from. Chinese will never accept you, no matter how good you are at the language.
You're right. No, they won't. And I think this is probably the number one criticisms, not just from American white people, white Americans, but from like anybody who comes to China, who wants to come to China, is like, I will never be a Chinese passport holder, which means I have no rights and privileges as the Chinese nationals do. Permanent resident card or not, it doesn't matter. The passport is your sort of golden ticket.
Right.
Other than that, dude, fuck, dude, we've talked about a lot today. I mean, we have, magically, these bottles have multiplied. I don't know how they go. What the fuck? But I appreciate you coming in today. I really do, because you're one of these sort of, these normal guys. Like, just fucking regular, you could bump into on the street, Los Angeles, New York, Beijing, you'd have the same conversation. You're not sort of like pushing any one thing. I think you're one of these people who sort of has this pro-American, pro-Western view ish, but you do appreciate the substance of China and its culture and its language. But I think you would have the same conversation with just about anybody that you met, sort of thing. So I appreciate you taking the time. I know. I mean, how long have we gone on? We've broken. We've had a break. Lots of times. We started sometime, or I said 3:00. You showed up at 2:30, and we've been going on since then. I hope most of this has been captured. Anything else that people should be sort of aware of that you're thinking going forward?
Well,
warnings of China, America, of the world.
It's okay to go back home.
Shit, no, it isn't. Is it?
It's okay to go back home if you can.
After how long?
Well, it's just okay.
What about the vaccinations?
I don't want to worry about that.
Are you vaccinated?
Nope.
Ooh, snappers. Are you pro-Trump?
Nope.
That's terrible. It's a loaded question. It really is. Do you like Trump? Well, how do I?
I don't dislike him.
No, it's. Do you still like Trump? That's the question. Or do you still like Trump? Which is.
I was proud of him for defeating evil.
Well, and he had
He defeated the most disgusting candidate in American modern history.
The Democratic Party.
The woman, I forget her name.
Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, she's just beyond despicable.
Well, dude, we have done a good number today. I appreciate it. I think this is a podcast to remember. I appreciate you coming and taking the time. I know you're hungry. We've been drinking quite a bit. I'm surprised you didn't touch the water as much. Actually, I'm not so surprised, but whatever. It doesn't taste the same. And I hope that your repatriation to America, to not America, United States.
Before we end this, it's like I want people to understand is when I come back to China, it's not as an ESL teacher.
You're gonna be a lawyer, hopefully.
Yes, I will
ESL
be.
lawyer.
Not ESL.
Or a legal ESL.
So when I come back to China, it'll be as a lawyer / businessman.
Shit.
Hence Shanghai InterNations.
Yeah.
Because even they have capped ESL education or the teaching profession. They make good money. And, I actually made more money in Shanghai as an English teacher than I did with our company here in Beijing.
Right.
It's just like we talked about at one time that it's easier to do this job because we don't have to do extra work.
It's so true. So true.
And that was the only difference. But I was still making more in Shanghai. And even these people know it.
Mm-hmm.
And they put a cap on it. Go ahead.
I'm thinking of a book for you to read.
Which one?
J.P. Getty. I've pontificated about the glories of this book. J.P. Getty, How to Be Rich.
Never heard of it.
This one. That's it right there.
J.P. Getty, How to Get Rich. You guys see that? Is
Holy-
this similar to The Richest Man in Babylon?
I think it's better.
Oh, so you have read it.
No, I don't have to. I read that one instead. That one's practical. Babylon is blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I gave it to
I'm not
Danny.
going to lie.
I gave it to Danny one time when we first met.
Nope. Richest Man in Babylon is a bit more theoretical. This one is like...
More practical.
This one's more like, let me tell you, son. So you want to be rich. As a guy who survived the gauntlet of the oil boom, where people were knifing each other and legal proceedings were de jour, you can't publish a book about how to dig oil. You actually just have to go do it. And then do it again. And then again. And then you have to do it again. And then when a vulture like me comes along, Mr. Getty, you have to be able to say no and build your business even more than I could possibly offer you.
Now you exactly understand why I need to go back to America. Because when I was asked that question by that friend on a hiking trip, I can only dig oil in America.
Yeah.
where in China can only talk about it.
Really?
That's the
You
difference.
think that? Oh fuck, dude.
And they're not going to listen to me because I'm not digging oil in China.
Okay.
We kind of
I'll
see.
play your game. I'll be your Huckleberry. What about social media? Do you think you could reinvent yourself, upskill?
I thought about this actually.
No way.
No, I actually thought about social media, and someone asked me recently, "Do you want to do ESL videos on English?" I was like, "No." I said no.
Why?
Because they've already done with Lucy's English.
Yeah.
Lucy's already cornered the market. She's brilliant.
Yeah.
You can't compete with that.
IELTSadvantage.com. That's my go-to for IELTS teaching.
Is
TOEFL, there's a TOEFLadvantage.com, I think.
They already.
They were 10 years before our times.
Yeah, exactly.
Really horrible. Like, what the fuck were we doing 10 years ago? That
Getting drunk at happy hour at a bar.
again.
Again.
Wait a minute. So you're not supposed to start a podcast with 5 bottles. You're supposed to start a YouTube channel without the 5 bottles.
That's right.
Snappers. Okay, dude.
They're just way ahead of the market. So when I looked at it, it's like, you know what? We can make learning videos for law with a mom and dad, but not use them because we're old. Because, it's an old young man's market. Just hire actors. But you write the script.
Right.
But it's like, that would make more money. Tort law, contracts, intellectual property, even criminal.
All right.
You just put, it's kind of like you're saying, like we started with the brand name.
We did.
Yeah. And that's exactly what it is.
I'm going to have to, I think we have to cut it at this point because we are going in circles. But, dude, I appreciate you coming over here. I really do.
Yeah.
It's been a fantastic conversation. We've been yik-yakking and fucking going through all these bottles and stuff like that. I hope you had a good time. I appreciate you taking the time. If people want to get in touch with you, where can they find you?
The WeChat. But when I get back to the States, I'll give them my international WeChat.
All right.
I have 3
InterNations or?
Real estate.
Okay. Right.
But it's California Land. BuyCaliforniaLand.com.
Okay. Is that your website?
Kind of.
Don't give me a scammy, spammy website.
No. It's
All right. I'm going to put a link to your name. Which, by the way, I mean,
I have
okay,
3
getting back
WeChats.
to like the original question, how do you pronounce your last name, sir?
Araujo.
Araujo.
Just as
Octavio
Judy.
Araujo.
Just as Judy.
But you say a different word. Octavio
Well, the Spanish way is Araujo.
Araujo.
Or Araujo.
But you have a different name as well. You
But
have a third name.
Portuguese say Araujo.
Araujo.
That's my real
Mr.
estate.
Araujo, but that's not you. That's a different person.
No, that's me.
No, it's not.
What do you mean?
Sir, that's not you.
No, that's me.
That's not you.
Yeah.
Nope. That. I don't want to use the word that I want to use to say that.
Just say it.
But that is not you.
Just say the
This
word.
is personable, Octavio. That man I would not talk to.
Why not?
Why, he's a little bit too shapely.
You mean
His beard is too clean.
Yeah.
His hair is too clean.
That's when I was in Shanghai.
Nah, get rid of that picture. I don't want to see that. You can post that on the profile and everything, but I cannot. No, that man is not podcast.
That's me.
This man is podcast.
You're not the
Dude,
first
you've
person.
been real.
You're the first person to say that. No, that can't be you.
You're
I
a
know,
proper, real
that
person.
is
I've
me.
appreciated the fucking yik yak that you've given us.
You know what the funny thing is about this picture? I took it 2 months after I dropped all the weight from Tianjin.
And when was that picture taken?
This picture was taken of November
2016.
2017.
17.
Or
okay.
2016.
So that's old,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
That's old, man.
I was 42.
Now you're a new man.
Yeah, I got the
This
gut.
is this is you. This is okay, minus the gut. You're more personable, I think. That picture's not personable. I would not talk to that man over there.
Really?
This man I would talk to. I think most people would agree. Your Chinese girlfriends and wives included. And the non-wives.
Someone said that last night to me as well.
No shit, you were out with 3 different women. Someone had to say something complimentary.
Yeah, but she said something very similar. That I used to judge men by the way they look. But as I've gotten older, it's like, no, that the looks are not that important.
It's about the bank account.
She didn't quite go that direction.
But she did.
But she was...
Dude, I appreciate it. Thanks. Okay, we're going to cut it there. Episode number 34, Stephen Search Podcast, Octavio Araujo.
There you go.
Gotcha. Okay, cheers. Appreciate it, dude.
Cheers.
Thanks. And there you have it. episode number 34 of my podcast. Show notes tracks are available for download up on my website, stevensersky.com. And of course, you can now stream this live on all sorts of platforms out there: Spotify, Apple, Google, you name it. I finally put the big podcast up there as well. Thanks for listening, folks. Hope you enjoyed that talk. I know it was a long one with Octavio, but I hope you enjoyed what you heard in this episode as well, and was gained some sort of information as well. All right, thanks for listening. I appreciate it. We will talk again. Bye-bye.